know I say this a lot, but that might be my favorite intro we've ever had. Holy shit. It's just so damn hype. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Kinda Funny Space Jam in Review. That's right, we're ranking and reviewing every Space Jam movie. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam.
Snowbike Mike.
Tim, let's get loony.
Let's get loony, baby. Of course, we have Nick Scarpino.
What's going on, Tim? I'm very excited to talk about this film.
And the biggest baller I know, Andy Cortez.
Do you think Shaq remembers who I am?
No.
I feel like if we showed him
I
the
think he
clip
does.
of him touching your head, it would flash.
Shaq
Oh,
has
gosh.
been in so many of those one-on-one like press interview things that you are a blur to him. Shaq was just thinking about lunch. He didn't care about what was happening there. He was not going to remember you at all.
Just think about
I
his
do
next
see
ring.
I do see Shaq as the guy that doesn't go out of his way necessarily to. He's a big time celebrity, right? He doesn't need
Huge.
to add extra words to a conversation if he doesn't need to. But the fact that he kept on being like, "I swear I've seen you on the internet before. I think my kids watch you. I think my kid watches you." Like the fact that he was saying that, I think that maybe he doesn't remember me. But for sure, his kids never watch anything we do.
Or he just thinks you were Ninja.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
possible.
That's true.
I mean, listen, DM him. See what happens.
Okay.
Shoot him a
Yeah,
DM
DM Shaq.
right now.
See what's up. What's up,
Hey,
Shaq?
Shaq, remember this? And send him the clip. And if he's like, Andy, I've been waiting for you to DM me for 3 years now. It'll be a little lost love connection, just like
Please-
Craigslist.
Please remove me from this intro on Space Jam and Review.
You do not have
My
permission to use
likeness
my
that you didn't
likeness.
pay for.
Exactly.
It's kind of funny. Is in review where each and every week we rank and review two different movie franchises. Right now we are doing Space Jam, like I said, but next week we're returning to the MCU in review with our Loki in review, and then after that we're going to be doing a couple back-to-back Pixar reviews, returning to that universe before returning to DCEU in review with The Suicide Squad, James Gunn's The
excited
Suicide
about
Squad,
that.
which just got moved up a day. So it's coming out on Thursday now, or Wednesday at midnight on HBO Max, and then on in theaters. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, of course, we are talking about Space Jam, A New Legacy. And of course, shout out to our Patreon producer, Molecule. You can get the show, youtube.com/kindafunny, roosterteeth.com, podcast services, search for Kinda Funny in review. Or if you want to get the show ad free and be a Patreon producer, patreon.com/kindafunny. Today we're brought to you by Canva, but I'll tell you all about that later. Space Jam, A New Legacy, a runtime of 1 hour and 55 minutes, released on July 16th, 2021 in theaters and on HBO Max. It is the first full-length Looney Tunes theatrical film since Looney Tunes back in action in 2003, 18 years ago. Haven't gotten much of the tunes lately. But a lot of people in the comments and on Twitter corrected a major wrong that I made last week during the Matt Batson Space Jam game plan, of course, where I was saying that the Space Jam website was still up from the 90s and was taken down, replaced by this, and that is a crime. It is still up if you go to spacejam.com/1996. This is it in all of its glory. If you click
Amazing.
around a bit there, Barrett, it is just such a 1996 website. Great. You want to listen to
Hell
some
yeah.
Lunar Tunes? Hit that movie soundtrack. Yeah, click on that.
that's
See
not-
what
What a
happens.
noisy
Amazing.
background. Oh my God.
It's terrible. Wait, spacejam.com/1996? Is it the
Mhm.
Oh, no, you have to spell it out.
No, it should just be
1996.
Yeah, 1996 works.
Oh, it's not working for me.
It might
Look
be
at that, you can buy
Space
the
Jam
cassette for
1996.
$8.99. You gotta love this.
Got the
Gotta love it all.
soundtrack and
Oh my
everything. Let's
God.
go.
Fly
An
like
AIF
Can you download it? Can you
file,
download
too.
it straight from the website?
There's Real Audio. Do you guys remember Real Audio? That was the worst
Yeah,
thing
real
in
players,
the
man.
world.
Real players. Everyone
Nah,
thought that
Real
was going to be the
Players.
thing. It was like FOVs and real player, and you were like, yeah, this is it.
There's a bar somewhere there. Something about like, I need to get quick time to because I'm a real player. Like there's something there right
Oh,
there.
something there,
Bless-
Andy.
I need you to work on that.
Give me 10 seconds.
Yeah,
give me
I need you to
10
work on that.
Seconds. Wow.
Man,
Wow.
I'm a
You can
player in
color
real
in book?
time.
Oh god, looking at this page hurts my eyes. Holy crap!
Love this. Love
Kids,
this.
much awaits you here in Looney Tune land. Terrible.
Junior Jam.
Anyways,
What?
it's fun. I love that they kept it and that it still exists for all of us to look
Wow.
back on and have fun
Nice
with.
time
But
capsule.
this movie was supposed to be directed by Justin Lin, who had to exit the
Wow.
project because he signed on for Fast 9 and Fast 10 to end that whole series. So he was replaced with Malcolm D. Lee, an American director, producer, and screenwriter. And boys, I can't wait to tell you the list of things he's directed because it is a whole bunch of fun. The Best Man, Undercover Brother.
Yes.
First off,
Wow.
we need to take these one by one because The Best Man and The Best Man Holiday, all great films. The Best Man series.
He also did that. Also did The Best Man Holiday in
Thank you.
2013.
Great.
We of course have Undercover Brother, the Eddie Griffin, right? Eddie Griffith.
Yes, that was an Eddie
Which
Griffin
one?
vehicle.
Griffin. Yes.
Mhm.
We have Roll Bounce in 2005.
Oh, fucking A. I love Roll
Wow.
Bounce.
We have
That's like-
Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins in 2008. Soul Men, the classic Soul Men
Wow.
in 2008.
oh, okay. I was like, not the C. Thomas Howard one. That was
No.
like late 90s or late 80s.
Scary Movie, not 1, not 2,
Yeah.
not 3,
No.
not 4, 5.
No.
5. Scary Movie.
Five is where
No.
five is where a lot of hardcore scary movie people believe that's when it gets good. That's the Tokyo Drift of the scary movie franchise. It's
I
not
love
like
that Tim just did a LeBron reference right there.
Yeah.
Yep, he
that
did. He
was
did.
Entirely on purpose. And of course, Night School in 2018.
Oh, I could not get through that
Kevin
movie.
Hart.
Made a lot of money. Made a lot of money.
That was a tough one.
The music was done by Chris Bowers. In January 2020, it was announced that Hans Zimmer was going to be the composer for this film. He did a lot of work on it, but then at some point, there was a partnership with Chris, and then at some other point, they just totally backed out. It became like Chris getting full credit on it, even though Hans Zimmer did a lot of the score. This movie had a budget of $150 million and has a current box office of $194 million. That's pretty damn impressive given the pandemic and where we're at right now and the fact that this movie just came out today domestically. Nick Scarpino from Kind of Funny.
Do you have a figure on how much of that budget went toward the absolutely terrible costumes that they rented for the background people that were watching the game?
I mean, you got to imagine it was a lot, in fact, because there was a lot of them.
Because at one point there was a
That
plentiful.
was half of the movie.
There's one point there's a Mr. Freeze costume that looks like it was straight out of Halloween Spirit, and I respected it.
Or did it look like it was straight out of Batman Forever? Batman and Robin?
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, Joey.
Yeah.
Don't mean to
it right.
insult you.
Forever's the good one.
Joey, I'd like to apologize on Tim's behalf as his consigliere and consul.
But yeah, it's looking like it's gonna actually perform pretty well at the box office, which is fun to see. But let's move on to our thoughts. Blessing, let's start with you.
I was hoping you wouldn't start with me because I am working on the verse that Andy asked for.
Let's
Thank you.
Let's start with you.
Andy, it's you.
Did you say Andy?
Yes.
Okay. I am disappointed with this movie. I am disappointed. I think this movie does a lot of neat stuff that I wish was in part 1. But overall, I think part 1 is just a much more enjoyable movie. I think LeBron James needed a Wayne Wright or Bill Murray type character opposite him. I know he made the joke about I'm as short as Kevin Hart. Like, I needed a Kevin Hart in this movie across of LeBron James, kind of always there. Like, maybe don't even play Kevin Hart, maybe be his whatever publicist or I just needed something else there because this movie was just missing a lot of that comedic touch. I think I maybe laughed at one joke that was a basketball joke about some reference. You're going to leave Cleveland again, or I don't know what the hell they said.
He was like, he left Cleveland, then he left Miami, then he left Cleveland again.
LA, watch
okay,
out.
that's
Or you said
LA,
something like
watch
that.
out.
I don't know.
Taco
I
Tuesday.
thought all those references were there was some decent basketball stuff that I enjoyed, but for the most part, goddamn, just a lot of the jokes just fell extremely flat for me. I don't like the new voice of Bugs. I don't. Obviously, it's not the new voice.
Yeah.
I just liked Billy West version way more than this new person who's probably been doing it for the last 10 years or something like that. Yeah, I think this movie, when we talked about the first Space Jam and how we needed that family element to tie everything together, this movie has that, but it's missing so much more around, when it comes to just funny dialogue and characters. I think this movie has those hype moments, and this movie makes the final play feel way more exciting than what the first movie did with the final play. How it was just kind of, oh, this long dunk. Oh, that's the end of the game. Oh shit. This movie does that a lot better, but it's just still missing so much more for me. So I was pretty disappointed with this one, where about 30 minutes in, I'm just like, oof, this is really, really bad. And I was telling Nick earlier that I thought LeBron was going to be like 50% better than MJ. And I don't even know if, I think he was like just as good as MJ as an actor. I would think of that one sequence from that one movie, Nick, that I always bring up.
Trainwreck.
From Trainwreck.
Yeah.
Where he had such a great performance, but
Steals the show.
And it's just,
the show in his
and I thought he had great line delivery in that scene. And for whatever reason, this movie, every line just felt like basketball player trying to act. So I was pretty disappointed with this movie.
Yeah, I think in that movie, unfortunately, he was acting opposite David Hayter. David Hayter? Bill Hader.
Yeah. Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
David Hayter, Solid Snake.
Solid Snake.
But and Bill Hader obviously being the lead, like LeBron was just nice to kind of come in and pepper some of the humor into that one. But I would actually disagree with you a little bit, Andy. Tim, if I may take
go
the
for
floor.
it, Nick.
I thought this movie was leaps and bounds. No pun intended, ahead of the original Space Jam. I think all of my criticisms with the original one where they didn't find a creative way to work in the family, and I thought that the movie was lacking a little bit of heart because of that, was very much solved in this. And I think LeBron is to say that he's a good actor would be a stretch. He's not a good actor in any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, I think it's so self-aware that they have that line where he's like, athletes getting into acting, this never turns out well. And that's obviously a wink and a nod to the audience saying like, we get it. He's not a great actor, but I think he's very charismatic. And I think he has some lines that kept me going. There's just a moment at the end where Bugs is like, can I come stay with you? And he's like, you can absolutely come stay with me. It's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. And it got a laugh out of me. I was like, dude, he's got some good comedic chops, and he at least attempts range and sometimes gets it and sometimes fails with it. And so I can see the energy and the effort that went into the role. And because he's such just a fascinating, charismatic, and fun human being, I bought into it, and I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it significantly more than the original Space Jam.
Snow Michael. What you think?
Really well said from the both of you, and I feel both sides to this. I actually thought
Mike,
the beginning.
You have to pick between mom and dad.
I'm gonna pick one. Don't worry about that. Don't you worry about that.
I was like,
I think the beginning
you're not
for me
here, buddy.
Started a little slow, right?
Sure.
I was a little worried. I was like, man, is this gonna hit the mark? I think Andy said it so well of like LeBron for 2 full hours, right? That is a lot for him to carry. And there were some moments at the beginning where I was like, I don't think this is gonna happen. But right when we started the game, right, and they gave you a good hour of game time here in that second half, and it just became fun. Right. And I think Nikki hit on it. It had that heart. It had that family moment there. And I was like, man, this is really cool to see. And I feel that, right? That was something we talked about from the first one into this. And for me, it turned out to be a fun and enjoyable movie, right? I really enjoyed where we went. I loved the updated look of it all, right? Here we are in 2021 and how they made the look of the Monstars with all of the NBA players we now know and love, using WNBA players as well. And then on the flip side, the tunes and the crowd, the references of Ernie Johnson and Little Rel holding down the commentating booth. I really loved that. And so I actually came around on it on the second half, and right towards the end there, I felt it, and I had a lot of fun. And I know this movie isn't geared towards a 31-year-old male with no children at all, but I will say I had a good time. And I think if this was 8-year-old Mike, I would have had a blast as well.
Nick?
On one note on the look, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. When I watched the trailer, I remember thinking, God, I'm not vibing with the 3D-ness of this. But I think they did a really, really smart thing, is that they did a majority of this in 2D and really made me go, oh, wow, that's really awesome. Like I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool that there's so much of this was done in that hand-drawn 2D style. And then when they transition over, I was like, I'm not ready for it. And then 5 minutes later, I was like, all right, it's okay. I'm actually okay.
I kind of wish they hadn't made a big deal about it.
Yeah.
When Algae Rhythm is like, here's your new updated versions.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it just happened where the basketball court fell down, everything turned digitized, and I wish that they turned digitized as well. Yeah. I didn't like the whole kind of presenting, here's your new look, and here's like, you're the bad guy. Why are you kind of like showing off how cool you're making us look now? And also, just on the point of Algae Rhythm, I did not like Don Cheadle in this movie.
Couldn't disagree with you more. Oh my god, I loved it.
I thought he was.
I
like,
needed
just
anybody else to be in that role. I just
chewing
that
up
was
scenery. I
Wow.
loved him
yeah.
in this.
I just
Wow.
did not think he was entertaining at all, and I needed just somebody funny and somebody that didn't. Also, even 3D version of Don Cheadle was just like so much worse than, than it really was. But
Do you think he'll get nominated for Best Supporting Actor?
yes, he will for his 4 lines in in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah, I don't know. I just needed somebody else, somebody more.
Really?
I wanted like Hannibal Buress or somebody with
of a
more
comedic
kind of
actor. Yeah.
because like Don Cheadle's a good actor and he's got good charisma, but I just didn't feel like I feel like he was 4th option for this. I don't know.
I felt like he was first option. Everyone's like, "Holy shit, we got him!" And but in the back of their mind, someone's like, "What if we could get a comic to actually do this?" I mean, Don Cheadle's a phenomenal actor, so I thought he did pretty well with it. I was pretty fascinated by it, but I don't know. I was also like, I don't know. Here's my question for you guys. Sorry to non sequitur, and then Bless, I want to hear what your thoughts also. Do you think it lost a little bit of the magic when it went from 2D to 3D, or were you guys just like, "I'm okay with this"?
I thought it was cool.
No, I thought it was awesome.
Okay. Because
I
at
like
first
it.
I was like, it's not the same to me. And then I was like, I hate it. I was like a child. I'm like, I don't like it. It's the new thing. I don't like they changed the wrapper on this. And then by the end of the game, I was like, actually, I came around. I
needed
didn't
more
think I would, but I
Zendaya.
came around.
More
I was worried
Zendaya.
about it at
Oh man,
first.
Andy, I think me and you were just on total opposite sides of this. I
was
hated
worried-
Zendaya.
Really?
I
First of all,
I
how
thought
dare
that
you.
she was so not good in this. I love her. Her as Lola didn't work for me at all.
Wow.
Bless though. What do
Wow.
you think about the movie?
Well, to Nick's point, right? I think the first half I was kind of scared when they were making the transition from 2D to 3D, but the writing is so good by the time they switched to 3D in terms of the jokes and in terms of the flow of the movie that I didn't mind it. I was actually very fine with it, but I did have that fear as we were making that transition because I think the 2D stuff stylistically just looks better and is way easier to read than the 3D stuff. The 3D stuff does look rough in some points, but I think it's carried by the actual momentum of the game and everything that's happening. So there's that. 2, I got your rap. I got your verse.
Okay,
right?
let's
It's
hear
4 bars. It's four bars.
Oh, damn.
It's all on the Game Boy. I ain't bugging in my free time. Only fast forward, man, there's no need to rewind. When I see the other team, you know that it's mealtime. Andy, don't you know that I'm a player in real time? That's what I got.
Oh,
That's what I
wow.
got. That's what I
Wow.
got. Thank
Wow.
you. Thank you. I do this all day. Hire me. Hire me to
Amazing.
be your writers. I can be your
You missed your
ghostwriter.
calling. You missed your calling. Stop talking about PlayStation. Get out there.
So yeah, like I feel like this movie, LeBron James, his acting, I feel like is subpar. I think he does have the charm that you guys mentioned earlier, but last episode, last Space Jam in review, I mentioned that, you know, all Michael Jordan needs to do is be Michael Jordan and people will get it. It's fine. And I take that back wholeheartedly. I feel like in this movie, LeBron James was LeBron James, but it's almost like they gave him way too many lines because I felt in so many moments I was like, all right, like you're doing your best, man. Like you're definitely not an actor, and I really felt that. But
Yeah.
I think towards the end he did have his charm, and so I like that. I felt like the writing was kind of messy in a lot of places in terms of the moment to moment. You know, this is why we're playing basketball. This is why I want to play with the Looney Tunes. Like the whys of why things are happening, I felt like were really messy and didn't make sense on a lot of points. Aside from that, I absolutely adored this movie. I had a blast. I thought it was super awesome. I made a list of all the references that I could catch in the moment because there is so many times in this movie where I was like, wait, hold up, is that this? Wait, hold up, is that Stephen Yeun? Wait, hold up, is that Rick and Morty? Like there's so
my
many
God.
things where I stopped and I was like, what the fuck is this movie? And it's the funny thing where you understand it because it's Warner Brothers and they're basically making Ready Player One again. And
Yeah, I
and-
was gonna say.
yeah, turning it into a Space Jam thing. But for me, as somebody who skipped Ready Player One, I didn't really care to watch that movie. Jumping into it with this movie and seeing all the different references brought in a way that felt very fun, very quick, and very like, hey, we're gonna make a reference and then move on to the next one. I really appreciated that, especially in the second half where I felt like the actual Looney Tunes element of the movie really shone through in a way that I really liked because I'm somebody who really likes Looney Tunes. I feel like Looney Tunes doesn't get as much love nowadays as maybe they did during my childhood because Space Jam was the thing that came out during my childhood. But I remember watching Looney Tunes on Cartoon Network and being like, oh my, like, I guess I wasn't like this, but thinking back to Looney Tunes, I think about it all the time and I'm like, man, I always had a blast watching Looney Tunes. I always had a blast watching Bugs Bunny. I always had a blast watching Elmer Fudd and all the different characters goof around. And there's something about Looney Tunes humor specifically that I think is just timeless and classic and just works anytime it's done well. And I feel like the second half of this movie is Looney Tunes humor done well in a way that I really appreciated and I thought worked way better than I could have imagined in this movie. There's so many jokes. There's the Granny doing the Neo thing, which I thought was hilarious. There's a time where she makes a basket and she says game blouses, and I lost it. I absolutely fucking lost it at that line. And there's so many points in this movie where I did lose it from laughter. And so I really appreciated this movie. I thought overall they did such a wonderful job. It's not like an immaculate film or anything like that, but as a fun time that is, trying to make so many pop references and be a family movie that doesn't have to be high stakes, I think they did a phenomenal job, and I really dug it.
Yeah, and just to kind of echo a lot of your points of what this movie does better story-wise. Not only do I think this movie does way better with all the family stuff and making you care and having that sort of come full circle towards the end, but also having that moment at halftime with the Looney Tunes. And like it's let's not act like this is fucking gonna win a writer's award or anything like that, but it's great. It's a great setup to say, fuck, I'm doing the same thing to you all as I was doing to my son, and saying like, be like me, you can't be like me, be yourselves. And like that is such an easy win. It's a fucking home run, it's a slam dunk alley-oop, and they nailed that whole portion of it. So that's why I think I liked this movie the more that it went on, where at the beginning, the first 30 to 45, I was like, fuck, this is really rough, and I'm not feeling this at all. And as the game went on, as the basketball game went on, and even the NBA players who are these villains, the Goon Squad, I thought they were great. Like, I didn't expect Klay Thompson or Damian Lillard to have decent speaking lines, and they did, and it was awesome. And to go to sort of parrot what Blessing said about LeBron's acting, the thing that bums me out about it is like he has moments where he has a really good, convincing line delivery. It's like, more of that, dude. And it's the same that we saw with MJ. Like, in the beginning of Space Jam 1 with MJ, when he's talking to his family, all of that feels so natural. But it's the moments where LeBron has to be like listen, you got to be yourself. And that's where it just sounds like, oh, come on, man. Like you were so good the last scene. What happened between now and then?
To your point, Andy, I do wish there was a Kevin Hart. I think this movie could have used one more comedic character, like an actual comedian or somebody who's known to be funny, to be with LeBron in each of the scenes. I know Bugs Bunny kind of is that, but I think we needed somebody a little bit more tangible, because it does feel like, for the scenes where we're going scene to scene with Bugs and LeBron, it is just those two, and the back and forth between just those two, I don't think is enough to make it hit from scene to scene. Whereas a third character like a Kevin Hart or somebody,
I mean, they had Nedry,
to fill that in could have been great.
They had Wayne Knight in the other one, right? And he was he was kind of that person. But I do want to just pay due respect to LeBron, because he has a longer movie he has to carry. First off, like, remember the last one was 30 minutes shorter, and they barely had. Jordan was just like, I could just stand in place and not have to do too much stuff. They had Wayne Knight, but I do agree. Like, I wish. Did any one of you just think like, God, can we just get one Bill Murray cameo? Is there going to be any freaking way that Bill Murray comes into this? And we didn't, but we did get a banger of a cameo at the end.
Oh my God.
And I laughed my ass off. And I knew he was in the movie because I was looking through the credits list and I saw his name there and I was like, that's cool. He's going to pop up, and they still got me with it. Sorry to
Michael A. Jordan line was fantastic.
It was so good. And I didn't know that. I did not know he was in it. They start playing his fucking Chicago Bulls theme.
Yeah.
They show the shoes and they make it look like they're Jordan 11s. They're not. But like they made it look like it. I was like, holy shit. I was hyped as fuck in that moment. And I thought it was such a great reveal. I loved how they did that. I thought they really nailed it. I am so surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie compared to what I thought I was going in. I actually think it's a good movie. I don't think it's great. I think that it is a much better movie than the last one, but I think that it has nothing that is special that the last one had. And I think it kind of addressed all the issues that I had with the previous one in terms of the storyline, in terms of just the characters, of what's happening, the hype moments, all that. This movie had those in spades, but it just didn't have the heart, and it doesn't have the iconic moments. Like, we're not going to be talking about this movie in 10 years the way that we talked about Space Jam. Like, this movie's going to be enjoyable to a whole bunch of a whole new generation, but it's not going to be iconic and something that they take with them going forward. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Like, just movies and entertainment work differently now, and back then that type of crossover meant so much more. And like, Michael Jordan was iconic by himself on a level that LeBron is just kind of it's
now you're getting into the old debate.
No, but I'm not talking about the quality of a basketball player. I'm talking about in terms of like LeBron is a fucking legend, and it is debatable if he's better than Jordan. I'm not going to have that conversation because I'm not equipped to have it. But we think of LeBron as being more than just basketball. Like we expect him to be in movies and stuff. We didn't expect that from Jordan. You know what I mean? Like that to me is the difference. And I was similarly to all of you really kind of let down by LeBron in this, where loved him in Trainwreck, love him when he kind of plays an exaggerated version of himself in other movies. And with this one, he kind of played a serious version of himself. And I'm like, that's not what I want to see from LeBron at all. We enjoy his acting because he's funny and like, you know, kind of a character. And at this, it's like when it starts off and he's just being so serious with his kid, I'm like,
it's awful.
Oh, I don't like this.
And hit.
That whole, the first 30 minutes of this movie, I think, unfortunately, are necessary to make this movie as good as it is and work as well as it does for all of its moments, but it drags it down a lot. But I got to say, the biggest thing I was worried about was the 3D CG versus hand-drawn or 2D animation, and the emphasis on it being this Warner Brothers clusterfuck of references and the Ready Player One isms of like watching the trailers and how similar they all are. I think they kind of nailed it. I think it really worked with Space Jam for what this movie actually is, and they used it well for the narrative they're building of this crazy video game world. Like even watching the trailers, I didn't expect them to go the video game route as much as they did. Like they were playing NBA Jam and having them have the power-ups, like Andy was saying, the actual NBA players, like having them with their CG animal forms, like they built that all up really well with this kid making the game and all the powers and scanning and stuff. And sure, it's corny and hokey as fuck, but I thought they really did a good job with it all.
Good.
And by the time Bugs and all them were 3D CG, I was just like, y'all earned this. Like you showed me so much more than I expected with, like Nick was saying, the 2D stuff that takes up the majority of the tune's screen time.
Loved it.
So just it being the final game, having that moment, I thought was really smart. But having said all that, going back to my criticism of, despite this being a dramatically better movie than the first one, this one's just not special. The amount of scenes in the first one of Daffy and Bugs in the real world under the grass, but you still see the hump and the Monstars coming out of the trench coat and all that stuff. There wasn't a single moment in this where I was like, oh, this is a melding of worlds. It kind of just felt like CG everything, you know, and that kind of takes away the specialness, even though it works really well.
But I will say this, like I liked the Looney Tunes better in this.
Me too.
I think they were actually more well-rounded characters. I think Bugs, to Blessing's earlier point, because they put Bugs in as the sort of second lead in the movie, they gave him a lot more to do. And he started from a lot darker place where like all his friends left him, and it makes sense why he would, like, his motivations for wanting to put the team back together makes sense. Where in the first one, you were like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Also, we get a freaking Superman reference in the original animated show style. I was like, are you really kidding me with this? But Tim, to your point, like, I think they barely nailed the sort of Ready Player One-ism. I think we dipped into it a little bit, especially when we start going into the Matrix, where like, I know the Matrix 4 is coming out, but the problem I think WB has a lot of the times is like, their stuff's just not as, like, the vast catalog of their stuff that they have is just not as modern as like Disney's catalog, right? I mean, Disney's got Marvel, they've got all the Pixar stuff, they've got the Disney animated properties, and they've got Star Wars. That is pop culture right there. So when you start flying through even Harry Potter,
that's why we got a Casablanca reference.
I mean, exactly, right? Like, I love Casablanca. Don't get me wrong, you know, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and to see LeBron James with like just gleeing out that he's a Hufflepuff is hilarious to me. But even Harry Potter's not that relevant anymore. So when they're flying through all these worlds, I was like, man, if Disney made this movie, it would be a whole lot different, right? You'd have Pixar World, you'd have Star Wars World, you'd have all these all these kind of crazy things. But I did get a laugh when he's like, King Kong ain't got nothing on me, and King Kong is in the background and he just goes, I'm like, all right, well, you're using what you got to the best possible way you can. It's just, you know, I think they did it a lot better than Ready Player One. And there was a moment that got me. I don't know if you saw it or you probably did, Tim. You probably got all the Easter eggs right there in front of you. But when they land, after they put the team together, or I think maybe it's the second half, I can't remember, the Animaniacs are silhouetted above the spaceship. And
they're in it a lot,
badass.
actually.
I was like, that is a cool thing to do.
Cool. My question before, Mike, I know you've had your hand up, is because I don't know if any of y'all have seen it, Wreck-It Ralph 2, where the Wreck-It Ralph breaks the internet, where they do that, Nick.
Oh, right, because
there's
that's Disney, right?
Yeah, that was all Disney, so there's a lot of Disney references. So I just wonder, like, who did it better, WB?
I think Space Jam. I think
okay.
Wreck-It Ralph had the one good scene with the princesses, but otherwise kind of squandered that opportunity. Whereas with this, like Nick, I agree with what you're saying about these are lesser things, but we're talking about the Looney Tunes. Like I think that it kind of like it fits of them going to these worlds that like we don't care about necessarily as much. And I thought that they gave each one of them a moment that mattered a lot more than I'd expect, both from the Looney Tune character perspective. Like I love the way that they gave the abilities of the Tasmanian devil spinning, flipping the court, like all that stuff. It's like, this is so great and way more integrated than we saw in the last movie. But on top of that, though, with the worlds they go into, like Lola training to be an Amazon with Wonder Woman and then playing the music and all this stuff, it's like I thought they did a good job with that, and having the Superman theme and the Batman animated stuff, the red sky of the Batman animated series, like there was just a lot of stuff that Ready Player One just kind of felt like, oh, there's just a lot of things around. If you look, you'll see references, which this had in the basketball game in the stands. But the moment where they're getting the team together in the beginning or in the first third, I thought was really good. Like it kind of like made the everyone coming together at the end to watch the game make a little more sense than just, oh, here's a bunch of fucking references to B, C, D, E, F,
and that was
etc. level characters.
You have it. I'm sorry, Mikey. You have like a traditional kind of setup payoff in this that I don't think we got in the original one, right? In that they figure out how to use. They had figured out a more clever way for them to use their Looney Tunesisms to actually overcome the bad guy, and that's what I really liked about this. Where in the first one it was like, oh, they're Looney Tunes, so they'll just do some Looney Tune stuff. In this one, they had that very hard that played into the B story of him and his son, where he was like, fundamentals win basketball games, and then it turned out no. Fun wins basketball games. And fun is also the thing that my son wants to have with me. That is the thing that we're missing in our relationship. And that to me, when the Looney Tunes are like, hey, we have to be loony in order to win this, and it also solves the B plot, that to me is that's a fulfilling sort of tying up of loose ends by the end of this thing. And I think they did it, which I didn't necessarily see in the original one.
Mike.
That's a massive win right there. Oh no, I mean that was really good stuff right there to go along with. And I want to give two shout outs. One was to the expanded roster of the team and getting to see more Looney Tunes. I think that was one from number one. We talked about it was really limited. This time I liked that they opened it up and brought on some more. There was some really good moments with some of the B characters on that squad. But one thing I wanted to touch on, and Tim, you brought up like iconic moments, right? And I think in number one, a lot of those moments stood out and became iconic to me because of the soundtrack. Yeah. And this one right here, what I didn't get to speak on at the beginning was this one had a weak soundtrack. I mean, it had iconic moments that would have been really hype and really cool, but there was no soundtrack to back it up and make it have that feel like in Space Jam 1. And I was looking for it the whole time. I was like, where is this, right? How come we're not playing with that?
It did start off with a fucking banger, though. It starts off with Ghetto Superstar, where I was like,
okay. That was like, okay. You're right.
What a letdown, though, immediately.
I know.
Right
I have it written in my script synopsis. I said I already love the music in this, and then you're right. Like toward the end of it, I was like, okay, what contemporary
even the intro
stuff?
We get Ghetto Superstar. It's fucking like, holy shit, they're gonna do this right, and then we get the LeBron montage. You're like,
so yeah. You get the LeBron montage, no big music like we did in the first one, which it's awesome to have the montage, but no big music. Ghetto Superstar was great. I liked the final song that they played during the credits. I thought that was really nice, even though none of them, not a single song there, had the weight that we had in number one. That was a big letdown, and I think that would have led to more of the iconic moments. Because when you see the Monstars come out for the first time, and you see Diana Taurasi as the White Mamba, you see Klay Thompson as the Fire and Water, and you see Anthony Davis come out as the Big Brow Bird, it's like, if they hit us with one of those hit us high, hit them low moments, like, come on, that would have been banging right there, and they didn't.
See, my thing is that when you look at the actual soundtrack, the soundtrack is filled with bangers. You mentioned the credit song. That is a song with Lil Baby and Kirk Franklin, which is I like that. There cannot be a more unlikelier pairing than Lil Baby and Kirk Franklin, but they came together to work on.
Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan, but
well, that too. It feels very similar. Yeah, they say Lil Baby and Kirk Franklin are the Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan of music. But you also have songs by like 24 Golden. You have Chance the Rapper, John Legend, and Simba on here. You have a song from Sweetie. You have Lil Uzi on here. You have like more John Legend. You have Jonas Brothers. You have Lil Tecca. You got a song featuring Dame Dollar, who is, I believe, Damian Lillard from the NBA. You have like a good amount of dope ass music on this soundtrack. The thing that I think brings it down is just the fact that they didn't use it as well as in the first movie. The first movie had that moment of hit him high, hit him low. It had Basketball Jones, which still sticks in my mind, even though I watched it a week ago. I still have Basketball Jones stuck in my head because that scene, I think, uses that song so well. And there's not really a moment in this movie that uses the music to its advantage, which I think is a bummer, and I think goes back to Mike's point.
And there were just some, and those are such easy wins, though. Like to obviously, I think like Tim was mentioning and Nick was mentioning, the people watching this, the young kids watching this, are likely going to enjoy it because it's going to make them laugh, and it's got a bunch of cool visuals and a bunch of cool kind of basketball related stunts and action sequences that are interesting to watch. But like the easy wins there for us, the adults, like just play a snippet of the old thing when they come back from halftime and the mood swings around. How do we not get "Come On and Slam" and "Welcome to the Jam"? Like,
oh my god,
how did we not? When they came out for the game and we get the introductions to the bad guys individually, it was hype as fuck. The wet fire and all the stuff. We see them, the ball going through the spider legs and stuff. I was like, yo, they're setting this up so well. And then it's just like, oh, the good guys, the tunes are just there on the court. Like we don't get a LeBron James intro. It's like, are you kidding me? And then they come back from the halftime and it was, I gotta be honest, hype as fuck. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, let's fucking go. And then like the Looney Tunes thing comes on, they all pop out. I'm like, hell yeah. But then Andy, they should have played the song. They should have done intros for each of the characters. Like, who gives a fuck it's coming back? Yeah. Like, give us the hype.
I want to also shout out the video game portion of the movie because, you know, we're all in that place where we're all nerds here. We all love video games. So we have that connection to it, especially knowing E3 and all this different shit. But like, I want to give a shout out to how non-throwaway all that shit felt. Because it could have been very easy for them to go, oh yeah, the basketball game takes place in the game world. And, you know, that's a thing. And we just roll with it. And it feels very generic. The fact that they kept doubling down, the fact that a big plot point of this movie was that LeBron's son wants to make video games and he wants to go to an E3 camp.
Love it. Yeah.
And that is like the tug of war of the movie of like basketball versus his son who wants to be a game developer. And they kept diving into that subject matter and kept creating that tension and finding ways to even reference video games. Like Timmy mentioned NBA Jam. I felt like there are even some NBA Street Volume 1, 2, and 3 references. Even home court
trick style moves. Let's go.
The trick style moves, getting points for the tricks, which felt like game breakers to me. The repeated dunk moves, which felt very NBA Street home court. Like the amount of that was going on was another part of the movie that had me like, oh, let's fucking go. Like, I can't believe how hyped that shit made me from just that standpoint. And so, yeah, there's so much in this movie for me that worked on, I guess, a personal level when you talk about that stuff, but also just period when you talk about how well a lot of that stuff was handled.
It was really cool to see E3 referenced. I think that's the first time I ever, as an adult or even a kid, like heard E3 mentioned in a movie,
Not
alone,
major motion picture.
Yeah, and to see it in like a logo, right, when he drops him off at campus, like, wow, that's really cool. And I will say, being over there on the Xbox side, when they came out with the Looney Tunes game, man, they should have just came out with that game that they were playing. Like, I don't know why we did a side-scrolling beat 'em up. It should have been that one-on-one, like, fun game. They should have made that. That was fun.
And again, that comes back to like, man, I can't believe they went that far with it. Like, I was literally, I think we might have been asking the question on KFGD or something of like, oh, that's a weird thing they're doing. They're asking fans to make a Space Jam New Legacy video game as a thing to put on Game Pass. That's a weird thing. And to actually watch the movie and see that the movie is about this kid who wants to make a video game. And so they did that contest to let kids make video games. That's fucking cool. Like, that's really awesome.
Yeah, man, that is awesome. But before we get to the plot, let me tell you about our sponsors.
This show is brought to you by Canva. Listen, design is hard. I'm talking about art design. Even making thumbnails in Photoshop can be hard sometimes for me, but that's why I'm excited to tell you about Canva. Kinda Funny loves Canva. Tim Geddes himself says that it is super useful and easy to use. It makes all different kinds of design stuff. You just pick the styles you like and it does all of the work. Super helpful for creators. Canva Pro is the easy to use design platform that has everything you need to design like a pro. It's a quick, easy, and affordable way to design whatever you need. No matter what you're creating and sharing, Canva Pro has everything you need in one place, including a collection of over 75 million premium photos, videos, audio, and graphics. Plus, Canva Pro comes with time-saving tools that simplify and speed up the creative process. You get all of this and more in in just one Canva Pro subscription. Design like a pro with Canva Pro. Right now, you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you use my promo code. Just go to canva.me/kindafunny to get your free 45-day extended trial. That is canva.me/kindafunny. Canva.me/kindafunny.
Andy, come on and hit me.
It is time for the plot. Is this movie good or is it not? It is time for the plot. Go ahead, Nick.
Space Jam: A New Legacy. Tim, taking care of the people you love is fundamental. We get
Dude, you gotta love this is the second movie in weeks that we have, family and Dom being a big part of the whole plot.
I'm telling you, some of the stuff, Bugs Bunny almost dying and saying that line, I was like, okay, all right.
Came out of nowhere, and it was some fucking bullshit. And the way that it was all resolved sucked. I gotta be honest, hilarious. But I also have to be honest. I almost cried. I gotta be real. If Bugs was gonna fucking die, I would have been like, y'all motherfuckers. But can you imagine end credit post scene if they had just went that Bugs was gone and it ends and it's Michael Jordan coming in with all the tunes behind him, knocking on LeBron's door like, we gotta get our bunny.
Come on, my God.
Come on. Oh my God. Sorry.
I almost had a heart attack.
Whoa, yeah, whoa, damn, that
was unbelievable. We start off with a flashback. LeBron's mom is dropping off a very young LeBron at his basketball game so she can go to work, and Ghetto Superstar starts playing, and man, I got to listen to that song more. Of course, LeBron takes a seat on one of the bleachers, and his friend gives him an old Game Boy because he just got a Game Boy Color, and he starts playing the Bugs Bunny game, which completely captivates him until the dude, I don't know the actor's name, but I think he's from The Wire.
Oh my God, Mike.
This is one of my original Game Boy games. Like, I know the narrative is I don't play Nintendo games. It's only third party. This is one of the very few Nintendo or Game Boy games I have ever owned.
That is amazing.
Wild to see it live on camera in a movie. That was nuts. What a callback.
Yeah. And you talking about E3 being in a movie, which was like so fucking cool. Like, more than that for me was like, we're dealing with a movie that starts off and they're talking about the difference between the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. And I'm just like, holy shit, this is crazy. I didn't expect it.
See, now you're old. Because now all those references, the things that only you got and old people didn't get, now you're getting, and some of the younger kids will be like, what's a Game Boy? I have a Switch with an OLED, an OLED screen in it.
And by the way, I know this is supposed to be a kids movie, but like none of these references feel like references that kids would get, right? Like I can't imagine
the last movie.
I can't imagine being 8 years old watching this movie and understanding any of it.
No, I mean, you get that there is something called a handheld video game system because they still have them today. But people, if you're 12 years old and you see a Game Boy and you have a reference point for that,
or you see King Kong or the clown from It. Like, there's so many things where it's like, this ain't for you.
I need to put my foot down. This is a rant that I go on every once in a while, normally on Gamescast, but I'm doing it here. We got to stop treating people like kids or adults, like old people, like they're just these freaking morons, like they're from Kansas or something. It's like, no, like these kids, even if they didn't grow up playing a Game Boy, they know what a fucking Game Boy is. They've been to a Hot Topic. If they haven't been to a Hot Topic, they've been to websites. Like they know what this shit is.
We even had a shirt that had a Game Boy on it once, didn't we?
Yeah, Andy designed that.
Andy designed
the kind of funny games logo.
But like our audience ain't 10-year-olds. You know what I mean?
No, our audience.
I look at our YouTube demo. I look at our YouTube demo. Yeah, it's like 30 to 50.
Males 30 to 50, predominantly. Anyway, back to the plot. Here we go. His coach comes up and makes him play the game. Of course, LeBron gets the final shot, and you're thinking, oh, he's going to make it, but he does not because he's not focused. Outside, his coach tells him that he could be the best if, quote, he focused on the game of basketball and not that Pokemon machine. You got a chance to use basketball to change everything for your mom, for you, for everyone you care about. So LeBron did what I did back in the day. He threw out his Game Boy and downloaded After Effects illegally, allegedly, and put the work in so that one day Fran would hire him at IGN because no one else knew what After Effects was. No, JK, he becomes one of the dopest, if not the greatest basketball players of all time. And we get another unbelievable montage that goes on way too long, and blessing could have been 5 more minutes longer. I would have been okay with it.
Yep.
It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, let's pause so I can geek out with Andy because that was so fire to see. Like when we watched MJ, right? We had The Last Dance recently. That was back in the 90s. And like maybe you know MJ, like with that, maybe you don't. But like to see LeBron James and his career and that legacy that he's going to leave behind, that was absolutely moving and beautiful that they collected all those clips.
I remember, Mike, like I watched the McDonald's high school game. Like, I watched that shit on ESPN when they were like, this player is so special. We are showing his high school game on ESPN. Like that shit was crazy. And then the shot where he hits the 3-pointer against the Magic and turns around and like I was like, oh shit, we're going chronologically because I wasn't sure if we were going forward or backwards in time. I guess they showed a dunk where he dunked on Tim Duncan. Not super excited about that. I don't know. They got swept by the Spurs in that finals. They got fucking swept. So I don't know why they would show that. And then they didn't show him not backing down JJ Barea, Mike, against the Mavs. They didn't show the Spurs destroying them in 2014. But still a really good montage, Mike.
I don't
Great
think
montage.
so. Andy, I'm reading my notes here. I don't think it was a montage about the Spurs. I think it was just supposed to be about LeBron.
Spur Jam.
Interesting.
And so here's the big. That was the first negative. Is MJ's montage had a killer soundtrack to it, right? You got out of your seat, you felt it. And LeBron James's montage is just as fire as MJ's, if not better, with today's day and age of CGI and what they put in there. And all of a sudden, you're not going to hit me with a killer soundtrack. Like, what was that? What a disappointment. Because that was fun to watch. Of like all of those moments. That is like. That encapsulates
Cleveland,
LeBron,
this is for you, Cleveland. So good, dude.
That's a killer
my issue with this montage was, in addition to the music, it was just the way it was presented. Didn't feel like it was blending with the Looney Tunes. Like I liked that the first movie from the beginning, it treated Bugs Bunny like he was Michael Jordan. Like the chain link fence, the red, 90s paint style that said Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny, and like you're seeing Michael Jordan just fucking dominate. Like the way it was presented, it felt like there was a mesh that made it special. With this one, it was just like, oh, LeBron's dope. And yes, LeBron is dope, but it's like you could have this, like Andy keeps saying, like it's so easy to just do this right.
Yeah. There's so many easy winnable points there, and you're not quite getting it. Like all the times that you passed away and kept giving the ball to Dwayne Wade because you were scared to shoot at the end of the games, Mike. Like,
okay.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know.
Wow. Just really digging at him. All right, I like it.
There's a lot going
supposed
on
to be
here.
Celebrating the man here.
Everyone, please clip that out and tweet it at LeBron.
Not to mention the last championship he won, which is like not even a real finals. Come on,
clip that out.
Even cool moment. They had stuff from the bubble. That was great too. I mean, that was a hype montage. Let down without the soundtrack, but great way to start. And just like we started Space Jam 1, it's very cool to see the similarity, right, Nick? Of like, oh, they went there, right? And that was a cool callback. Great job. Love that.
Mike, not enough to Junis Ilgauskas, you know. I need a big Z. I need a big Z in there more. If you don't know Nick, but Junis Ilgauskas, it was like this tall white dude, bald, and was a no-namer until LeBron like was drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Saved his ass is right.
Just saved his ass.
Made his ass relevant.
The big Z.
Now, Mike, is that LeBron poster just in your room?
Andy?
This is an NBA 2K19 full-on life-size standout cutout.
Oh my God.
This is 6'8" LeBron James.
Wow.
He towers over me in this room. He watches over me when I sleep as well sometimes when I get scared. So thank you to LeBron. Also, shout out to Skiz, the Kind of Funny best friend, who sent me this from the GameStop.
Love it.
That's
back
awesome.
to the
I
plot.
do got to shout out Xbox when I bring this on, but like I know Mike, you probably got this one too. The LeBron James action figure. I love this thing.
Love that.
I love
That's
it.
amazing. We flash forward, of course, and we are clear for takeoff. LeBron is now, of course, LeBron that we know. He is balling out and has a nice family and a beautiful house and two sons who both game, but one does it a little different. He does it like one Snowbike Mike. He games through the video game system. LeBron is disappointed in his youngest son because he's not focused on basketball, and he uses his automatic ball feeder to hype his son up. And first off, I don't care what happens in life, but I need one of you to at some point have an automatic basketball feeder. Because that is
I
the
love
coolest
this.
thing ever.
So cool. I got a quick question. Do you think that was actually shot at his house?
Yeah.
Like, because like that
probably.
was incredible looking. And I was like, that's probably LeBron James's house, right? It has to be.
One of them.
And that outdoor court.
I want to let
was
you guys
unbelievable.
know that me and Gia spend a ridiculous amount of time watching Netflix series, YouTube videos of just interior decorating, like design, like crazy places to visit, like all that type of stuff. I have never seen a bedroom,
dude,
that is so big that the bed is just in the middle of the room. Like,
who the hell does that?
Shit, that
Literally-
is baller.
I have a list because there are so many times in this movie where I said the phrase hold up, is that blank?" Right? And by the third time I just stopped and I was like, I'm taking note over every single time I say that. And literally on the third, first of all, these are all the notes I took. But like on the third line, it goes, "Hold up, is that a Game Boy?" Hold up is actually the second line. It says, "Hold up, is that a Game Boy?" And the second one is, "Hold up, is that a bed in the middle of the room?" Question mark. Who does that? Question mark.
I didn't know you could do that.
Fucking dope, right?
But that basketball court was so sick. Good
The
lord.
basketball court, I thought that was cool. I was like, it looked like the flooring was made of like tiles that water could seep through. I was like, this is freaking awesome.
Exactly.
And so much shade from those big trees. Like I would do anything to play on a court that nice. But again, we talked about it earlier, and I just like I don't think you could make the acting in this scene worse. I just hated
Totally agree.
It was bad.
every line of the, and this is where I was really
From LeBron,
worried.
I thought the kids did a great job. But
Oh,
I
the
think
kids
it
were
was
fine.
LeBron. I think
Totally.
LeBron, they had to set him up as sort of the antagonist to his son here. And again, I give LeBron a lot of credit though, because he's not an actor, and this is a dramatic scene that he had to do. He had to be like kind of an overbearing dad. And I will, the one thing that I will continually give LeBron credit for is that MJ, I love MJ, but was never vulnerable really in Space Jam. And it kind of, unfortunately, kind of led to a lesser movie, because you have to have a character kind of starting out from behind. And in this one, they gave LeBron was like, he's kind of a dick to his son, and that's kind of a vulnerable state to put yourself in if you're a mega superstar athlete. So kudos to him for like wanting to do that and trying to do that. Did he do it? Not necessarily well, but he didn't. He comes off as an overbearing dad, and that's not a place that a lot of sports stars want to be in.
Yeah, it's an
But
unfortunate
it gives
spot.
room for growth.
It's an unfortunate spot for him, because you need all of this to make everything at the end feel worth it and matter. But again, it's like it comes down to writing and directing. Like, you can shorten this down. Know your teammate. I'm not gonna pass the ball to LeBron and expect him to hit a bunch of 3-pointers. That's really not what he does. You know what I mean? And like, you just gotta kind of know what the strengths are there, and maybe don't make the sequence that long and shorten the lines a little bit so he's not having to dramatically act a whole lot, because he's just unfortunately not super great at it.
I want to take a moment and remember this of like, because I agree with you, right? If it didn't feel right, but I will say you could tell he's constantly giving his all throughout this movie, because at the end, when they have that moment with him and the son, I was like, you know what, LeBron, that was much better than where we started, right?
Yep.
And I'm pleased with that. Of like, I felt that, and I think you did a better job. It's not perfect. I'm not over here watching Leonardo DiCaprio, but like LeBron did try, and I liked that a lot. It got better.
And it's tough because they cast really good actors around him, and that can be a double-edged sword, specifically for people who aren't actors. They can either help elevate, or they can very much show some of the holes or chinks in the armor rather on this one. And unfortunately for me, like the next couple scenes, specifically when he has opposite his wife, who's played by Sonequa Martin Green, whom I love from Walking Dead and Discovery and pretty much everything she's in. She's a phenomenal actor. So it's tough because you almost see her like
She's really good.
She's like,
Yeah.
catch up a little here, LeBron. Come on, like stay with me on this level. But again, kudos to LeBron. He's doing his best here, of course. We have a scene where let's see. Oh, okay. Well, he's disappointed with the son, doesn't focus on using it. He's like, are we quitting on each other now? You can't be great without putting in the work.
Yes.
And his son's like, oh no, but his son wants to program, not be a baller. And I understand the first time I played basketball, of course, Andy was in junior high, and I gave it up to smoke cigarettes, and I never looked back.
Okay.
Later that night, LeBron's wife, I heard the character's name is Camilla, tells him he should talk to his son about something other than basketball, like the video game he's been producing, and he's 12 years old. And he's like, it is pretty cool. Okay, I'll go talk to him. We cut over to Burbank, where Al G Rhythm wants to partner with King James so he can get out of the server verse, but all of that changes today. Today, WB launches the new Warner 3000 tech, and he is the mastermind behind it. So he sends Warner exec Sarah Silverman an email, and being, of course, the professional.
Another
that she
hold up is that Sarah Silverman. Haven't
Hold
seen her
up.
in ages.
Oh snap! Yeah,
Where the fuck has she been?
Sarah Silverman coming out of the woodworks here.
Also,
and,
in Wreck-It Ralph.
yeah.
All right.
All right, take a shot back. Let's
A
go.
little kid, right? Of course, Sarah Silverman, being the professional that she is, waits until there's at least 3,000 emails in your inbox, just like me, and then misses it. No, JK, she forwards it along. Later that night, LeBron heads to Dom's room to check out his game, and it looks fun. Dom even puts LeBron's move, his special move, the step back, in the game. But when he wants to show it, the move actually breaks the system and deletes the character and causes a whole.
Is that a thing, guys? For LeBron,
I mean,
seemed pretty basic.
Step back.
It's just a move that basketball players do.
Yeah,
it's not like a LeBron special by any.
I thought it would have been the back down layup. Yeah, the back down fadeaway is more his style right there that you saw in the montage. But
yeah,
it was cool enough. I loved the dad moment of like, hey, don't blame this on me. I didn't do that. You know, like that's exactly what my dad would say whenever we played games. Like, I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
Of course, we get the introduction that Dom really wants to go to E3 camp, which is coming up next week, and he wants to debut his game there, but it's going to take him a long time to rebuild that particular character in this particular build. But LeBron tells him that setbacks are a part of progress. You got to push through. And then LeBron dabs, and he's awesome. He's like, "Do you want to see your dad dab?"
God, he's the coolest dad.
It's great.
He's the coolest.
That was one of those moments where I was like, that's LeBron from Trainwreck coming through here.
Yep.
Just showing some of his comic chops. And I like
it's the like when he needs to be silly and be fun with the character and kind of like fuck with them and, you know, be like, annoying or whatever. That's where it all seems super, super natural and really well done. And I liked that whole part.
I would love to see LeBron in a buddy cop drama with Bill Hader and like a cast of people around him where he can just be silly, like the silly character, and have a couple of dramatic shots. But I think that'd be fun. Anyway, LeBron invites his son. He's like, "Why don't you come with me to see the Warner 3000 tomorrow? It'll be fun. It's going to the scam right. They're going to scan him into the movies like Batman, and then we get a cool little montage here where it's Batman versus LeBron as Mr. Freeze, and they play the actual theme. And I was like, oh my god, they played the Batman theme, which is cool. And then there's Harry Potter, and he's a Hufflepuff and all that stuff, and it's really fun. And all this stuff worked for me. But LeBron knows what evidently MJ never knew, which is that athletes trying to act is never a good idea, which I love that little wink and nod and self-awareness to the audience, because he's like, I get it. It's me. But Dom is super interested in the algorithm and finally tells his dad he doesn't want to do the basketball camp, just like I told Miss Mason I didn't want to play basketball when I was in junior high, and she laughed at me. Anyway, Al gets pissed.
Anyway,
LeBron rejected him, and now it's his game. Now, Dom and LeBron argue in the elevator. LeBron took all the fun out of basketball. Quote, "You never let me do me. Just do me." So they get caught up, and they don't notice they head deep into the basement where the Warner 3000 servers are housed. Dom gets sucked into the Matrix, and LeBron soon follows. And then he screams out, "What the hell?
What the Matrix hell?" is what he says. And like, honestly, I don't know. And that was in the trailer. And somehow, like, even though I knew it was coming, I didn't expect it to make me cringe as much as it did. There's something about that line, the delivery of the line, where it's like, that is the thing I can't defend about this like IP orgy that these type of movies are, where it's like, oh, you didn't need to go that far. Because like, you're just not good enough to play that off as like a tongue in cheek. Like, I know this is bad. It kind of feels like he thought it was good.
Tim's over here acting all highfalutin because he knows that if this had been Disney, they would have said, "What in the Tron hell?" Because we all know, of course, that when you get digitized into a computer, that is more of a Tron thing, blessing, not a Matrix thing.
You're right. But I would have hated that equally.
It would have been terrible. Any Tron references in movies, you're just like, oh god, they're really trying to reboot that franchise. Anyway, they get sucked into the computer, and Dom is actually super excited. He's like, oh my god, we've been digitized. We're in the computer. And LeBron has another line that makes me laugh out loud. He goes, "In the computer? You know I'm claustrophobic."
Those are that Tim very similar, like you said. I see. I'm on the opposite side of like those two. I'm like, damn it, LeBron. Like that. Those just didn't hit, team. Like somebody should have been in the room. Like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we try something different, y'all.
It's not working. Let's do something else. Yeah,
that's not it.
And that's where we need. And that's why when we talk about the first Space Jam movie, and what I really, really enjoyed about it was, every sequence with Bill Murray just seemed completely improvised, because he's a funny person and can think of funny lines right then and there in the moment. And there just wasn't really a whole lot of that. And again, if LeBron could have been teleported back with any comedic actor who was his publicist or PR guy or whatever,
right,
and is there to kind of, for LeBron to be like, what the hell's going on? This is terrifying. And the other person to quippy line. Like, that's what this whole sequence needed. Yeah, and it just sort of fell flat for me.
That's what they did with MJ, right? With Wayne Knight and MJ. And that's what I thought they were going to do with Sarah Silverman. I was like, oh, Sarah Silverman's in this movie. That's awesome. So good. And she could have been like, she was playing this weird character. It just turns out they got her for a day, and they were like, well, that's enough, Sarah Silverman.
I thought Ryan Coogler had a lot more to do with this than he really did.
Did he? Maybe he just got Michael B. Jordan to camera.
Because I remember seeing like Ryan Coogler is going to be producing this movie, and I got my hopes up really, really high. And it turns out it seems like his brother is a co-writer / a bunch of other stuff on this movie. And I just thought there was going to be a lot more there. What's up, Mike?
I totally forgot it, but right before this scene, we saw like how they got into the serververse, right? That had a really killer beat of the Looney Tunes beat, but like turned evil, and that was a really good beat. That was one of the few beats where I was like, "Ooh, that's hot right there. That's hot right there."
Yeah, the pitch was shifting a lot, the weird kind of freaky ways. It was dope.
Al pops up, taller than LeBron, I might add, and he kidnaps Dom into the Warnerverse. He challenges LeBron to a game of basketball since LeBron didn't want to be in the movie so he can focus on his game. All of LeBron's followers would, of course, watch, and the entire world will know Al's name. Quote, if you win, you and your son can skedaddle on out of here. Lose, and you have to stay in the serververse forever. Al orders his AI buddy, Pete, to send LeBron to the rejects to gather a team.
How to say it? We see Pete, and I'm just like, why? Like Don Cheadle and this thing. What the fuck? I don't know that we need this. We have so many characters to pull from, whatever. But I also gotta say, by the end of it, I was like, "Yo, my boy Pete, I'm rooting for
had
you.
a couple moments.
I'm fucking Team Pete, baby."
Pete had a couple moments there. Yeah,
Pete's got a couple bangers. Again, shout out to the Harry Potter and Matrix themes that play as he flies through the Warnerverse and lands in Toon World with a Nike swoosh-shaped hole. I might add.
Love it.
Quote, I'm shorter than Kevin Hart. That one got a laugh out of me too, even though it was in the trailer. And then again, we're in the 2D animation style here, and I love it. At first, LeBron thinks he's all alone in this town until he meets the one and only Bugs Bunny. Banger of a scene here where they kind of meet and they talk. And I like that LeBron is not afraid to pay homage to like Bugs. Everyone that he meets, he's freaking out over like they're a bigger star than he is, and I think that's
very cool.
Lovely.
But I will say that this was a moment where I was really like, "Holy shit, this movie's actually more than I expected it to be."
Yeah.
And we're about to do a really kind of cool deep dive into Looney Tunes not being relevant anymore, and kind of like dealing with them, with Bugs, like the star, like not really being a star anymore, and whatever. And they kind of hinted that, but like, it didn't go the direction that not only I expected, but that I thought they set up really well. For them to just kind of be like, "Oh yeah, Bugs is alone here," I was like, "Oh
yeah." The fact that he was like, "I'm going to send you to the rejects," and it was the Looney Tunes, I thought that's where they were going as well, because that would have been a pretty cool thing to dive into. Because like, you don't see Looney Tunes around as often nowadays, unless you go to Six Flags or some shit. And I would have loved this for them to be like the opportunity where they're like, "All right, yeah, let's touch on that. Let's speak on that, and let's show people why Looney Tunes is still relevant and still cool," which I think they did, but didn't dive into in terms of like where the fuck have the Looney Tunes been.
At the end of the scene, of course, LeBron goes off a cliff and gets smushed into a ball, which I think is a little reference to when Michael Jordan got folded into a
every
ball
time
in the first one. Sorry, MJ. I'm just gonna call him MJ. It's easier. It's safer. And quote, I do not understand this world. I thought that was a good line read. It turns out Bugs has been alone in Toon World for a long time. And it's all because of algorithm. He conned them all into leaving the place they call home. Sorry, Bugs. Of course, he says that's terrible. Family is everything. And Bugs agrees. LeBron tells Bugs he needs to be a part of the team to help him win he's like, "Listen, I need you to be a part of this team to help me win a high stakes basketball game." And then Bugs is like, "Oh, I've never heard about that before." And that starts one of the fun little ongoing gags here where everyone's like, "We're doing this again? Okay, we're doing this," including Lola, who's like been there, done that. Bugs, of course, is like, "We got to get off this planet." So and I love this part because this is what I'm talking about here, right? They use the Looney Tunesisms to actually like overcome some of the hurdles or the challenges in the plot. And so he's like, step one, how do we get off this planet? Of course, plants a flag like he used to, and for Earth, and Marvin the Martian comes and he's like, "You can't plant that flag." And then of course he just cons him out of his ship and they get off.
Cool Greg marked out when Marvin the Martian showed up as if like, I don't even freaking know. Like, I can't even think of a wrestler that would be big enough, like showing up at the Royal Rumble as if it's this big surprise. Like he was
like the Hardy Boys coming back.
Yeah, it's that type of shit where it's just like, holy shit, Marvin the Martian, baby. I fucking love Cool Greg.
We cut back over to Al, and he's talking to Dom, trying to talk him out of, just trying to get in his head and manipulate him a little bit. He tells LeBron, he's like, "Where's my dad?" He said, "Well, he left to gather his team for the big game, just like he did Cleveland and then Miami and then Cleveland again. Look out, LA." Funny line. He tries to butter up Dom here by offering him a shortcut to rebuilding his character, but Dom knows the truth. You can't be great without putting in the work, echoing his dad's prior words. Bugs does a banger James T. Kirk impression so he can reassemble the team from Space Jam 1, all of whom are scattered about the Warnerverse. We have to go look for them. LeBron, of course, wants to put together the most powerful Warner characters like Superman and King Kong and Iron Giant, but Bugs clearly wants to just get the game back together.
The memes that came from that were fantastic. When that trailer first hit and all the memes that we saw of the list of like the super team that he wants to build, and it's like, of course, LeBron always just wants to surround himself with great players. Like, geez, this guy, he can't do it alone. Jordan would have never done this. Like,
that's so funny,
really funny. They pass by Harry Potter World and LeBron Hufflepuff. Love that. And then we get the Batman theme. They go over to Metropolis and we get the Batman theme when they hit DC World. And then we get the John Williams Superman theme, and it's freaking everything. And then we see the Superman crest and it pulls out, and it's the one and only Daffy Duck, of course, with Porky Pig as his videographer. And he's trying to be Superman and gets some press from that and put that on the web. Then we get the original Adam West Batman theme as they hijack this train to save it, and it's going toward a orphanage. And it's super awesome. And of course, who ends up actually saving it? I did not expect this. I thought it was going to be another goof of another one of the characters, but it ends up being Superman and the Justice League. And I was like, please tell me they got Tim Daly to do the voice. Just one voice of Tim Daly, or like someone who has done Superman, because that would be really, really cool. They did not, but they did later, which is cool.
I do want to point out that Daffy Duck really had a big role change in this one. He and his agent cannot be happy about the amount of screen time and buddiness he had with Bugs in the first Space Jam, and in this one, he is like so ancillary to everything else.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Well, Daffy is always kind of the foil to Bugs too. So I mean, it's now that Bugs is sort of the foil to LeBron. You don't
at this point, Mike, it's like
it's too many foils.
Exactly, too many foils. At this point, Mike, it's like, is he gonna request a trade, try to go somewhere else? Right?
Exactly. It's like Damian Lillard right now leaving Portland. CJ's just gonna be there by himself. See you, bro.
Dame Dollar. Dame Dollar
living in Portland. Draft day, and we get this great montage. And personally, if I were directing this movie, I might not. I guess we've already been to DC World, so we've got something in there for the kiddies. But cutting from the world where Superman exists to Fury Road,
so cool.
Wile E. Coyote holding up a sign that says "Witness Me" was unreal.
I needed more of this.
Wow,
so good,
dude.
I needed more of this, man, because we get a couple of the snippets of the Looney Tunes in a live action movie. I needed way more of that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the most creative this movie was, and that's the sort of shit that I really like seeing. And it just reminds me of all the times that I loved watching the sort of introductions to back in the days when we all used to watch the MTV Movie Awards, and they would put Jack the Black. Host, Jack Black or whoever inside the movies that were kind of nominated that year. I love that shit, and I would have loved for more. I would have loved to see them in like the live action Michael Keaton movie or a Batman movie or in Harry Potter. Like I would have loved to have seen more animated in the real world type shit, because I thought this whole sequence is just cool as hell. I thought it was dope.
Mean, call up Rupert Grint, call up Daniel Radcliffe. They're not doing anything. Get them back.
Don't even need to.
No, they put him in Austin Powers.
Fucking Austin Powers.
Daniel Radcliffe's doing that show where he's a religious freak, and then Rupert Grint's in that show where he's pretending to have cancer. They're doing stuff.
You get
very
the call.
Relevant stuff.
You know what they're doing? You know what they're doing, Barrett? They're looking at their phone, waiting for it to ring.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting to be in fucking Space Jam and be back in Harry Potter world. That's what they're doing.
Real talk, though, this whole segment, I am so surprised by. I thought it was going to be shitty and corny and not work and just be kind of like, it's Ready Player One, and it's not. I think this is so much better than Ready Player One.
Yeah, so this is where my list of Hold Up Is That started to get kind of crazy, because I went from Hold Up Is That Steven Yeun to Hold Up Is That Mad Max Fury Road. Hold Up Is That Austin Powers. Hold Up Is That Rick and Morty. Hold Up Is That Foghorn Leghorn as the hot dragon lady. Yeah. And then Hold Up Is That Speedy Gonzalez as Neo from the Matrix.
Yeah, love that.
What a fantastic sequence. And then also Hold Up Is That the Wonder Woman theme, which also is fucking incredible.
Amazing. So we head over to that. We did have Casablanca was in there to get Yosemite Sam. Then we head over to the beginning of Wonder Woman 1984. And I'm like, I wonder if this is going to go on for 25 minutes like it did in that movie. And thankfully it did not. They go over to recruit Lola Bunny, who was doing her trials to become an Amazonian. And if I'm not mistaken, and I couldn't look it up because IMDb has screwed me over with the new format, so it's hard to find people's names.
Weird.
Yeah. But I think Rosario Dawson did the voice for Wonder Woman in this because she's done the voice in prior animated movies, and it sounded like
interesting.
Her.
I don't know.
I wonder if they got her back for that. I was like, that sounds like Rosario Dawson. I know she's done Wonder Woman before, so maybe if we could look that up, that'd be cool. Anyway,
I loved this scene because it was just like, I love that they made such a big deal about Lola. Obviously, Lola, a character that debuted in Space Jam, so she is the basketball player. And like, it's funny how this movie kind of treated her with what we wanted her to be treated with last time, which is like a little bit more pomp and circumstance about the basketball abilities. But it being her in the Wonder Woman 1984 intro was like, I was right there with you, Dick, where I'm like, wow, they're doing this. Okay. But I loved it. I love the fact that they used it more of like the comic style and like really played with the animation style to make it look different than what we saw with the Gotham and Metropolis stuff. They played the fucking song, like all of that stuff. I was just like, they kind of did this right. Like they knew exactly. This is one of the rare moments of this movie where they're like, all the elements audio and visual wise lined up for me, where I'm like, yep, you nailed this moment for this character that I revere as much as I do. A quick fact from the Matt Batson Space Jam game plan, though, is Kath Soucie, who was the voice of Lola Bunny in the majority of her incarnations, Space Jam and beyond, had all of her dialogue recorded, and then in the last couple of months, they straight up just replaced her with Zendaya.
Whoa. That sucks.
Wow.
That sucks.
Wow.
Yeah, Andy Cortez, you had your hand raised.
To go along with Blessing's sort of hold up is that Stephen Yeun. I thought such weird casting choices to have Sarah Silverman and Stephen Yeun. I think if you're gonna have a role that small, it's got to be like what a lot of comedic movies do when they're gonna walk into a room and suddenly it's Matt Damon as the guy at the desk. You know, like it needs to be a role that gigantic to where you go, what the fuck? Why you have such a small role? That's hilarious. That you're just kind of this random person in this movie. But Stephen Yeun and Sarah Silverman are like
Random.
They're not big enough to be that person to where you go, whoa, that's crazy. But they're also way too big to just be a random person in a movie.
Exactly.
Like, it's so bizarre. It's such an odd choice.
It's like it should have been Cardi B or some shit.
Yeah. Like,
okay,
something
then I'm
totally
gonna react.
random.
Because this was like, if you're going to be in this, because we love you, just be in more of it.
Yeah.
Andy, I'm sorry, I forgot. I did get an email saying they wanted us for those roles, me and you. But
fuck.
Dang.
Unfortunate.
We don't have the time. We got to do a me on
sponsorship movie.
Anyway, we wrap it up with Lola. She ends up failing the trials, but winning anyway and getting accepted to the Amazonians, because being an Amazonia is much more than just trials, and she represents that when she saves them, which is cool. Over in Al land, Al figures out that if he steals Dom's code, they can scan every one of the people who are watching into the world and potentially use this to get them out of there, which is pretty interesting. I'm not quite sure how that works, but that's kind of the plan. Dom just wants his dad to let him be himself, so Al comes up with the idea. He's like to make LeBron take notice, father versus son. Back over at practice, Bugs calls LeBron Cleveland, which I love. He constantly refers to him as Cleveland. When he tries to start teaching them the fundamentals of basketball, because of course, fundamentals, Andy, win games.
I just asked Tim Duncan, the big fundamental. That's what they call him.
Exactly, man. That's what I always say. Tim Duncan. Duncan Donuts. Fun.
Thanks, Nick.
Fun training montage. Just still in 2D, which is great. I love that they haven't switched over to 3D yet in this. And Bugs, and he's like, they all start doing Looney Tunes things. Of course, LeBron kind of rejects that idea. Says this isn't real basketball, but Bug says, but it's fun. You remember fun, right? And he's like, no, I've been a massive sports star and just a mogul for most of my life, so I don't remember that. Anyway, LeBron's wife shows up to find LeBron and Dom, and she wants answers from their agent or manager, Malik, who does not know where they are and is freaking the hell out. And I love that little scene he has with the security guard where he's like, just come clean, dude. And he's like, no, I'm not going to completely. He starts screaming at him through the phone. Al makes Dom a player in his own game so he can be the player his dad always wanted him to be. Dom turns up the juice on his stats to 100%. Quote, now you're finally going to be who you really are, captain of my basketball team. And at first, Dom doesn't want to do it. And he says, but your dad wants, he's like, you want your dad to respect you. You beat him in a game of your own making. You make him see that you are special. And Dom takes the bait. He says, do it, upgrade me. And he gets upgraded. Dom.
Mike.
I love that moment, Nick, because if you play a lot of sports games, like I know I do and a lot of these guys do, every single time you're like, all right, I'm going to be legit about this. What's my ball handling? Maybe 75. What's my speed? Like an 82. And then you look at it, and just like Don Shield says, you turn that shit up and you crank that thing to 99. It's like you just dominate now. I do that every single time.
Mike, how much virtual currency would you have bought on 2K to get your player 99?
Hundreds of dollars, Zeal. Don't tell Greg, but I buy hundreds of dollars for the PC.
Two things about this. One, Mike, this LeBron only gets funnier behind you. The more I forget it's there, that I look up and it's worth it every time. I think it was this scene, but when he turns it to the 10 and it starts going up, the power up sound is Godzilla's like roar power up.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, that's fucking sick.
Back to the plot here. Dom sets about putting his own team together using prior scans of superstars, which he takes some liberties with. He starts combining them with like other cool powers, and we'll see those in a bit. In the outside world, the fam gets a tweet from LeBron about the game, and Camilla figures out she's like, I can reverse track his phone with mine, which leads them, of course, downstairs. LeBron and the team head back to Toon World and smash Marvin with only 1 hour left until game time. He tries again to teach Bugs footwork, and Bugs does an MC Hammer impression, which again, nothing more relevant now than Hammer time, until LeBron pulls his marker out of his hand inside the lines. You do what I say. No more fun. No more fun in games. Fundamentals win championships. Al, of course, shows up and upgrades the tune to 3D. This is where we actually get the look where he's like everything. And I like this too, because he comes in and just kind of makes the big idea about it, where he changes the environment first and then changes the tunes. And it's kind of off-putting at first, but like I said, I got into it after about 10, 15 minutes.
Rosario Dawson looks like she did play Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Barrett. I think Barrett confirmed that earlier for us.
Oh, gotcha.
It's awesome that they got her for that one line, or a couple lines that she had there. I thought that's really cool. Nice little Easter egg for anyone that watches the Warner Brothers animated properties.
That's great. I didn't know she did that in any of them. That's very cool.
You didn't know she was Wonder Woman? Yeah, she did. I think I just watched. I forget which one I watched that she was in, but she was one. I think she was Wonder Woman. Cool. Anyway, and the tunes are in 3D. And it's crazy. Never thought I'd see the day. Never really wanted to see the day. But here we are. Looney Tunes in 3D. Anyway, Al calls in every character from the WB catalog to spectate as LeBron's fan makes their way down into the basement where Warner 3000 server rooms are. Al starts the live stream, and everyone watching gets sucked into the Warnerverse to watch. Camilla and the family get sucked in too. Darius tells his dad that he's playing Dom's game, but LeBron tells him not to worry. I'm LeBron James, damn it. Al ups the stakes. If LeBron loses, everyone from the real world that got sucked in will stay there forever, and the tunes will be deleted. It's like, oh no. Then we get introduced to the Goon Squad. First off, the White Mamba, then Wetfire, then Arachnia, then the Brow. Which I have to imagine, is it Anthony Davis? Is that the name? The guy's name? Is he tired of this yet, or is he just leaned into this joke?
You got to lean in, man. That's what these movies are.
It's his marketing. Yeah,
he will never leave that.
Okay, he like to the point where he had an April Fool's joke a while back to make it look like he was getting it shaved. But Mike, were you expecting Braun to just straight up roast his ass at the end of it?
Didn't he roast him at one point, right? I thought he did, where he was like, it's time to split that down the middle or something.
I was surprised by it was kind of, it felt like a I hope Anthony Davis watches this, because I want him to know that just get rid of it. Enough with the unibrow.
I have the line written down. It was so good.
Yeah, it was just really. I was like, wow, shit, he went at it. That's crazy. Because if anything, Anthony Davis, go after LeBron's hair. Come on, dog. You are 50% bald, LeBron. Quit trying to fake this shit.
Let's not.
Oh, they didn't. He put a bandana on to go to sleep, a do rag.
Let's not. We're not Greg Miller here, okay, guys. We don't throw stones. Okay, I'm in a glass house of my own making, because I smoked a lot when I was young, and I didn't start taking the pills until I was 26. So let's not start throwing stones at people that have a little balding back here, a little.
No, it's fine. Look, I'm not making fun of balding. I'm making the fact that you're straight up just covering it up all the time. With fake hair, and then you're making fun of Anthony Davis' unibrow. Come on, you can't have it both ways, LeBron.
Well, I mean, the unibrow is easily fixable. Baldness, they still haven't come up with that yet.
I mean, somehow LeBron fixed it, because in this movie, he was looking great.
Oh yeah, I mean, he always looks great when he gets the fake hair. He always looks great.
I remember one time
looking great. I don't know if this is a popular opinion. I have a feeling it's not going to be. I thought the 3D stuff actually looked really, really, really good. I was very impressed with the visuals from this point on in the movie. I thought it was actually a really good choice, because obviously the last movie was in the 90s and there was that novelty of the real world animated thing. But whether it was, Wayne Knight inflating and that was kind of funny to look at, but it was scary at the same time. Like this kind of just worked the entire way through, and I think that a lot of that was because of the bad guy team. And like I was invested enough that like I don't know these players that well. I've heard of a couple of them, and I know Klay Thompson or whatever, but the game time thing, right? Like the setup, it was like, oh, they're gonna pay that off. And they fucking paid it off. And I loved that because this moment where they introduced him, I'm like, where is he? That's kind of weird that like that reference was gone. And then when he comes back later, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Think about the amount of times, Tim, that we've seen movies and said, wow, that green screen looks really bad. You can totally, like, this does not look good. I thought anytime LeBron was on this fake digital court with this fake gigantic digital background, it always looked really convincing. I thought it looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. The only thing that, like I said, it was a criticism I had at the beginning of this. The only thing that pulled me out was that I kind of wish that the crowd was CG as well. Because I think when you have the mixture of other live actors with King Kong in the background, it just felt very costumey, like very, very Spirit Halloween costumey to me. Specifically when you see Batman and it's not Adam West. It's like it's a guy dressed as Adam West, but it's not Adam West. Or you see Voldemort and it's not Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort, it's someone else. Not Voldemort, excuse me. I'm mixing that up with Lego Batman. When you see Mr. Freeze and it's not like Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, you're like, well, this looks like it's just a random person that they got off of Hollywood Boulevard to come be in the back of this. I wish they would have gotten likenesses and just CG'd them back there. And then I wish the crowd was pushed a little bit farther back because at times it's a little hard to figure out what's going on in the action because like the crowd's like got their toe right on the line of the court, which was a little claustrophobic.
At times it felt like there was a basketball game going on in the middle of a Halloween party where you just have all these folks that are just dressed every sort of way. And because there's so many people, none like they don't stand out as well. Like there were points where I was like, oh, that's the Mystery Machine. But aside from those, a lot of the crowd kind of blurred together in a way that was very crazy. And I kind of wish that they would have like Nick's saying, right, backed them up or toned it down a little bit because it felt it felt jarring to the actual action on the court, which I thought, to your guys' point, looked really good because I felt like they committed to a lot of the 3D animation, and it felt like they were like, cool, if we're gonna do this, just make it crazy, like do all the effects, do all the
all the UI stuff, all the UI on the ground, that was all cool.
I thought they did a great job with the crowds, and I thought that the commitment to the visual style they went with really led to there was consistency with the entire perimeter of the court, so that like Bless, you're saying like, oh, there's the Mystery Machine or there's this whatever. It's like once you caught that one Easter egg, it's like then next time you could look, okay, what's next to it, and to kind of work through. And there was a really good consistency of understanding where the different characters were, and like
we saw the Monstars.
Yeah, we did multiple times. That was
we did. That was cool.
I liked it. I thought they did a good job of making the visuals unique enough individually, but also like to not be too distracting with all of them together.
So speaking of the Mystery Machine and the All-Stars, I'll just wrap up some of my hold up is that's here. So I wrote down Game Blouses, and then I wrote hold up is that the Mystery Machine. Hold up is that Space Ghost. Hold up is that the clown from It. Hold up is that an ice demon, and then hold up are those the Monstars.
Yep.
Yeah, like I had seen a lot of those characters in all the previews, but Space Ghost floating looked so dope. That was so really cool to just kind of see him flying up there. Obviously, we had kind of done that sort of trailer breakdown where we looked through a lot of the sequences to kind of point out who we could find in the back. So a lot of those weren't super surprising, but Space Ghost is dope. I wasn't expecting to see the Monstars in that sort of close-up fashion. I thought they might have been a tiny little Easter egg, but it was really cool to kind of have them get that one sequence where they're straight on in the camera.
Of course, LeBron tries to convince Dom that Al is manipulating him, but Dom tells him Al is just misunderstood, just like him. And then we get the line we were talking about earlier where he tells the brow, I think it's time for your eyebrows to break up with each other, which I thought was hilarious.
It's funny when you say it.
Yeah, and then LeBron doesn't know what to do, so Camilla lays it out for him. She says, you got to win that game and get our son back. And he's like, all right. Then they bring in the announcers, and I think these two, I don't know a lot about sports, but these two guys to me just worked.
Me too.
Yeah, that's Ernie Johnson from TNT. He is he's an icon in the basketball world for what he does. Yeah, you will always know that voice, and that was awesome to have him. And then I have to give a shout out to Lil Rel, who he makes these movie appearances all over the place, and it's just funny, right? He's a good guy. He's a fun time, and for him and Ernie to be up there, that was a really good call because they could have gone like Shaq and Ernie. They could have got Charles, but like to have Lil Rel, that's that comedic touch that you guys talk about of like what was missing with LeBron. To have Ernie and like an actual comedian who was somebody funny, that was a good combo right there. It hit really well.
I agree. Let's see. We're playing video, and okay, so we get vintage. The announcers think LeBron has it in the bag until Dom steps on a power-up move and gets the tip off. We're playing video game rules, style points, and power-ups, ladies and gentlemen. The Goons run up a hefty score very quickly, and Bug tries to get LeBron to think outside of the box, but LeBron still wants to play fundamentals. But he gets dethroned when Dom steps on a power-up. Things go from bad to worse when Foghorn Leghorn gets ejected, and then desperate LeBron tries a power up and gets catapulted into a force field. Then of course,
I think all of this works so much better than the first movie because they set every element up to kind of work better than we saw in Space Jam 1, where having the commentators kind of explains to the audience exactly what's going on if you don't know. But then on top of that, it being a video game and them setting up the rules of the style points and all that stuff led to the score just being ran up. And like we're talking about 1,000 points versus whatever. This was more unbelievable than the first movie, but the rules were more easily understood. So it didn't feel like it was just Looney Tunes, anything fucking goes, it doesn't matter. It was like, no, they're playing within the rules of the universe they set up here. And I enjoyed that a lot because it added a lot more stakes and tension. And the back and forth of the game itself felt like a basketball game where it's like, oh shit, they're up, they're down, this is happening, the halftime, all that stuff, etc. Whereas in the first one, it was kind of like, oh shit, I guess the game's happening now. And oh shit, I guess the game's over now.
Yeah, and the first one, it felt like the scenes were very much, all right, here's a comedic scene, here's another comedic scene, here's somebody getting trounced by a monster, but you never felt like you're actually in the game. You felt like you were just watching a collection of funny moments, whereas this one actually felt like there was something to follow in terms of what was happening with the score, what meant score, what what the momentum of the game was. Like by halftime, we very clearly understood what was going on, and it was easy for us to follow the comeback as well, which was fairly better done than I'd say the actual game in the first movie.
Yeah, I mean it's a sports movie. You know what I mean? It's got the traditional beats of the sports movie, and it plays out very well. Whereas I think the first one, to your point, Bless, it's like a weird montage of fun scenes that don't really culminate to anything. Anyway, in this one, of course, the Toons try to the Toon Squad sub in their first substitute, Kronos. And I think this guy's super cool. The Toons try to combat that by subbing in Roadrunner, but the bird is no match for Kronos. And then they end up running up a final score leading into the half of 1,039-37. And it is not looking good for the Toons. We gave a
Kronos is as cool in the game as he's in real life. That's Damian Lillard, Dame time. There is nothing cooler than when the Trailblazers are down by 13 in the fourth quarter and Damian Lillard hits a three and hits another three and suddenly he's looking at the crowd, Nick, and he's going, it's Dame time. Like it's my time. Everybody walk the fuck away.
Yeah, get away.
He's just the coolest fucking basketball player I think I've ever seen play the game, dude.
That is exactly why I think this movie works. Is I don't know that, but this movie taught me that. And they did a good job using the commentary people, using just the skills and stuff. And like that's why I'm let down that LeBron's move isn't really like a LeBron thing.
Great use of his song as well. Damian Lillard likes to rap on his downtime. Like great use of his song that hit well, and a fun little beat with Playing with Time, which we'll see later on, which was cool.
We get the cameo here, another cameo from the Monstars, the OG Monstars in the original form, and then Al congratulates Dom on being amazing, and LeBron is heartbroken going into halftime. They need a miracle. Luckily, Sylvester found them just that in the form of Michael Jordan. And that's that. Broom, 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 broom. Ladies and gentlemen,
Nick doing that gave me chills.
Yeah, number, what is it, 23? What was his number? I forgot.
Number 23,
from North Carolina. What I'll tell you what would have made this sequence more special for me is not say Michael Jordan at all. Just we found somebody near the sidelines. I think you're gonna like who we got, and you hear the music hit, and you see just the footsteps. And you hear the fucking like the hype up and you're getting ready. You're like, no way, are they about to actually fucking do it? Because when they say the name Michael Jordan up front, I kind of know it's not going to be Michael Jordan. I don't know why. I needed that sort of hint towards it.
See, I'm on the opposite side. I was like, oh my God, could they really bring him out? Like, what if they did do that team up? It would be bonkers. And so I was really hoping for it. But yeah, I thought it was better with the comedic payoff. It was funny.
I'm on a third point of this where it's just like I knew it wasn't gonna be Michael Jordan. Right. Like they did that scene way too well for it to have actually been him. Like that would have just been like a holy fuck, I can't deal with this type hype moment. And I was just like, they're not gonna do it. I didn't expect the payoff of it being like when they said, "Oh, it's Michael Jordan." I thought it was just gonna be like, "Oh, it's some dude named Michael Jordan." The fact that they got Michael B. Jordan, like that's just one of those jokes that somebody must have came up with in the writer's room.
Yep.
And everyone's like, if we can pull that
If
off,
we
that's
can
going to
get
be
it.
fucking awesome. And like,
Exactly.
it really worked for me.
And shout out to Michael B. Jordan for doing that.
Oh,
cameo
yeah.
and just
I've been trying to hype him up.
Yeah, you got this. You got this.
I
Best
love
part.
I like the Michael A. Jordan line. I had a lot of fun with
Not his
that.
airness. Yes. that
And
was
then
good.
Michael B. Jordan walk away and be like, "Hey, you came back from being down 3-1. You got this shit." Like, that's a good one.
I liked as well when we started halftime. If you remember Space Jam 1, it was all about Bugs Bunny giving the big hype up speech. I love that it was Lola this time. I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool. I liked that touch right there. It went a long way for me.
And I like that.
I also love the transition of that change of character from LeBron being like, "We're doing this my way. We're doing the fundamentals," to having that. I know we talked about it at the top of the episode, but the handoff to Bugs in the Looney Tunes going, "All right,
Right.
you guys got this," and them actually being like, "Cool, let's do it our way." I thought was surprisingly well done and surprisingly hit me in the emotions.
Yeah, I was like, "You're not me." Like, and that's the same issue I'm having with my son. You aren't me. Why should
Yeah.
I expect you to be you? You know, and I
Yeah.
think
Yep.
it's such a. I was telling we were saying in the beginning of the show, but that's such an easy thing to sort of hit, and they nailed it, just like as they should have. Because if they botched that, I would have not been happy. Because like that's
Agreed.
such an easy thing to hit right there.
Of course, he does that, and it culminates with him handing Bugs back his marker. Time to let you guys do what you do best. Of course, we spot the Animaniacs on top of the ship as we come out of this into the second half. The Toons start to pull ahead with some really creative tactics, including a rap battle led by Notorious P.I.G.
This is my favorite part of the movie. This is so good because it felt
so ridiculous.
It felt like it was a reference to Space Jam 1, the soundtrack, the Buggin' song, where they have kind of a posse cut where Bugs and all of them are rapping.
Mhm.
But just fucking Porky Pig being shy at first and doing like his stuttering thing, and then
and it going
dropping some fucking bars
Yeah.
at the end of it. It's fucking fantastic. I look. What was the bar where he was like, your algae rhythm, but you got none? Legit, fucking amazing. Shout out to this scene. It's too good.
It ending with "That's all, folks." I was like,
Oh, yeah.
The beginning of this of him stuttering, getting into it, and the end of "That's all, folks." I was like, I'm fucking here for it. Everything in the middle. I was like, oh,
I'm
not
totally
for me.
with Tim. I'm totally with
Oh,
Tim.
I
We're like,
loved it.
I hated most of it until it ended with the "That's all," like where you could see the bar right before it rhymes with folks, and you're like, oh, here's how it's gonna end.
happening.
Yeah.
And that's when it like sort of all came together for me. But for the most part, I'm just kind of sitting right here in my chair watching my TV, like, like I don't like this.
Oh man.
And they start going, right? Taz spins the court around, which
So
makes
hype.
the team score on themselves, unfortunately. And Al starts losing control, which Dom sees. Wile E. Coyote uses a ball multiplier and the Roadrunners' insatiable appetite to run up the score from where they were to 1039 to 1,000. So they're getting real close within shooting distance here. And Dom and LeBron are finally having fun together. Al calls in Kronos, but Granny has a plan to combat that, which involves Matrix bullet time and a senior discount. And then someone says she is the one, and it's amazing. I love that it's dumb and it's totally not earned. But the fact that we saw Granny in the Matrix first, and she thought, what is the best way to combat the guy that can run really, really fast? And like, it was like a speedster. Bullet time, slow down time. You guys, somebody gets me. Anyway, Lola tees him up, and Braun finally uses the power up correctly to slam them into the lead. LeBron tells everyone on his team to be themselves, and Dom definitely regrets his decision to play for the Goons. Al finally shows his true colors to Dom and tells him to get his head in the game, just like his pops did in Act 1. Quote, maybe your dad was right about you. Letting you be you was a mistake. You know what? That's the part I said I'm used to the CG now, which is good. LeBron tells them, let's finish this so he can get back to his son. He squares off against his son and stops the game in its tracks to apologize. Quote, your game is amazing, son, and I would have known that if I had listened more. I want you to be yourself. Do you understand how much I love you, how important you are to me? I don't even know if I'm saying this right. And his son, of course, says, it sounds right to me. Everyone cheers and they hug, but Al stops them. You two are a joke. Dom tells his dad he's got this. He tells Al he's switching teams, and Pete allows it. But Al is the game. Says, quote, King Kong ain't got nothing on me, to which the actual King Kong behind him scoffs. And I thought that was a really, really funny beat. I was like, you're not going to use King Kong in this. And they did. I was like, all right, fine. give a little.
This whole
respect
bit
to
was
King.
kind of like a falling apart moment for me for the movie, where I was just like, I get what they're doing, I get what they're building. I think that the words used could have been a little stronger. I think LeBron's acting like really kind of like, this reminded me more of the basketball court scene in the beginning, where I was just kind of like, I just kind of want this over. Having said that, I was really, really hopeful, where I'm like, give me one more dope basketball scene. Like, don't let this be the end. Because I really thought that they could have just petered off here and like, oh, they learned something about family. Cool. Credits roll. We're over. And I was like, just give us something more. And I'm so happy that they did, because I think it was starting to fall apart, but they brought it back for me.
I got a really quick one before we go. Just a fun note of like, was it weird that at the end there we just threw style points right out the window? Of like, all of a sudden we were doing a lot of style points, a lot of points on the board, and then it's just like, no, we're going to traditional basketball points, okay, 2s and 3s only.
Yeah,
We're going to weird one for me. I was like, what are we
twos.
doing here? So, yeah, what happened here?
It's a good point, actually. Of course, Al gets swollen, starts cheating to run back the score. He uses trickery to slam the ball through LeBron, putting him, the king, on the floor. Braun calls a timeout with 10 seconds left. Quote, how can we score if he controls the game? Doc, says Bugs Bunny, and Dom gets a good idea. Dad, your move, the step back. It'll glitch out the game, and the whole thing will freeze. And if he's frozen, he can't do anything, and we can win. But whoever does the move gets deleted. So, of course, LeBron steps up and tells them he's going to do the step back, just like I step up every time I do anything. Dom passes the ball to LeBron, but Bugs intercepts. And does the step back
that was
move
hype.
himself.
That was a big
So
moment.
good.
Special moment.
That was so hype.
You could see it in his eyes too during the timeout. Like you saw Bugs kind of give the look, and you're like, he's not going to do that, is he? And like, man, when that happened, it was like, that's a cool moment. Good stuff.
Yeah. But let's see, he passes it, which glitches out. But his shot is short until LeBron steps on another power up, but he's not going to make it either. Dom thinks fast and throws the power up into the air underneath his foot, giving his dad the extra little oomph he needs to push through and take that donut to the shop.
I'll tell
that line.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
You gotta take the donut to the shop. What makes this scene even more hype, which the other movie didn't have, is this one. We have Ernie Johnson doing hype commentary and being like, he's not going to make it. And like, that's the sort of shit that gives you the chills when you're watching an actual really legendary sports moment and you're hearing Mike Breen going, bang, a 3-pointer from Ray Allen. Like, those are the moments that get you fucking hyped. And I think that this movie did so much better having those commentators there. Not only obviously telling you what's happening on screen, but just sort of adding to that hype.
Let's see the tunes. Of course, the shot is so dope it posterizes Al G.
Oh, and so here's the thing: like, this moment to me, not as cool as the Jordan arm stretching. He's turning into a Looney Tune. However, way better setup. And like, this is one of those things where I'm like, I at the end of the day, I have to side with this one because it was set up. There's the payoff, the kid throwing the thing, video games, blah blah blah. All that fucking worked. The posterized moment, though, it was one of those things where they set it up so perfectly that I watched it here with Cool Greg and James. And right when that happened, all of us were like, posterized, oh shit. And then when they did it, it was just like, damn, I am an 8-year-old boy right now. Like, they set that up so perfectly for the slam dunk of just like, yo, this movie fucking rocks.
Let's see, the tunes win and turn back to 2D, which is nice, and everyone gets to go home, including LeBron's family. But it's not all fun and games. Bugs is still glitching out of existence. He says, Lola says, Bugs, that's the least loony thing you've ever done. And he says, you got that right. But taking care of people you love is fundamental. It's really good. Toon World turns back to its 2D state, and Bugs is elated. We did it. We're all back together again. That's all, folks. And with that, he glitches out permanently. 1 week later, we're back in the real world. Braun walks Dom to what he thinks is the basketball camp until, spoilers, it's actually really E3 game dev camp. And he says, I figured it's about time for you to do you. Of course, Dom heads in to the camp, still holding a basketball, and Braun shouts out after him, "Hey!" He says, "Dom, give me the ball back." And Dom says, "You know what? I think I'll hold on to it." And it's nice.
That was a killer moment. I liked that moment a lot. I know it's cheesy and dumb, but like that moment went far. I loved that. I thought that was great.
And then, out of nowhere, Bugs comes back and he says, "What's up, Doc? I told you I'm a tune. I can survive anything." And then he asks, he's like, "Do they have carrot juice in the real world?" And LeBron's like, "Dude, we can juice anything here." And then the Bugs is like, "Can I come over?" He's like, "Yeah, it's Taco Tuesday. And then LeBron and then they walk away, and then he immediately invites the whole gang to stay with him too. And he says, "You can't get rid of us now, Doc. We're family." The end.
Andy, did you know that Nick was going to laugh at the Taco Tuesday line?
Of course.
Oh, everybody
yeah.
loves the Taco Tuesday line.
course.
It's Taco Tuesday.
I hate
It's
the
Taco
Taco Tuesdays.
Tuesday. I
hate
love
it.
the Taco Tuesday line on
It's Taco
Instagram.
Tuesday. It's good.
7 syllables in the middle.
How dare
You
you
need
guys.
5 for the
Yeah,
first and
how
last
dare you
line.
guys.
If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review.
There was no post credits in this, but I did really, really appreciate it. I don't know if you guys saw at the end. It was the little crown for LeBron and like a similarly stylized carrot for Bugs. And I was like, all right, this is kind of
that's
fucking
cool.
hype. And I wish they had that in the intro. But anyways, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny to write your review in haiku form, just like Zaid Wilson did. This HBO Max commercial went really long. Plot just wasn't strong. And
Wait.
then
Oh, wow. That is 12 syllables. This HBO Max commercial
17 syllables.
went really long. Yeah, wow. Holy shit. Good job.
And then Zaid Wilson also says, also, would it be all right if you got my submission for the first Space Jam into this week's Haiku and Review? It's absolutely on me for getting it in late. I need to pay more attention to the schedule, but rhythmically, it's one of the best haikus I've ever done, and I'm really proud of it. So I'm going to go back and try to find this, and I'm not seeing it. No, this sucks. I'm so sorry. Oh, wait.
Oh,
Here we go. Zaid Wilson. Welcome to the jam. Mikey, the man, and the Tunes. As a team, they're fam. They tear up the court with a last resort. B-balls. One hell of a sport.
wow.
That
There
was
you go,
good.
Zaid.
Great
There you go,
job.
Zaid.
Yeah.
And then miscellaneous, or no, nanobiologist saying, this might not be ours, but the new generation has their own Space Jam. So there you go. And then miscellaneous, of course, gives the plot in haiku. Off to a good start. Goddamn, cast is off the charts. Then the tech shit starts. Al challenges him. Motivations fucking thin. The squad up begins. Hate the CG team. First half down. They're doomed, it seems. Bring those Toon Squad schemes. Tunes are back on top. Meaningful convo with Pop and teams. Dom just swapped. Bugs risked all to win, but no, he's alive again. Whatever. The end.
There it is.
Not bad, not bad,
It
not bad.
is. And that's all we got. That's all we got. Now it is time for a little bit of that Ragu Bagu.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Ragu.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Bagu. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys here for Space Jam in review. Number 1 on the list, the Monstars. Do we feel the Monstars were better or worse than the Goon Squad?
This is a little tough.
It's
because-
weird because I think that they do good at the stuff that the other squad doesn't.
Yeah.
Like I think
you want to put them on the same line.
I think the original Monstars are a lot more fun because it's fun voice actors and it's good line delivery and it's silly shit and all the stupid lines that they have are really funny and they have really good personalities. In this one, I love how different everybody is. I love the different powers. I love that they are their own sort of super villains. And I think that their action on the court is way cooler than what they did in the first one. But I don't know. I still like the personalities of the first ones.
What do you guys think?
I'm easily thinking that number 2 is better than 1. I really like Don Cheadle. I thought that he gave a really good kind of like ironically grounding to the rules of this world and kind of I enjoyed him as a presence and him being part of the game at the end, I think made a lot of sense for what they built. And I think that, like Andy was just saying, the squad themselves was awesome. And I think that their transformation and the way that it all got there and what they actually did in the game and all that stuff is like infinitely cooler than what we got from the Monstars, even though, of course, they're classics. And of course, I have a lot of nostalgia tied to them and their lines and all that stuff. I just think that this is, it's undeniably better.
Yeah, I go back and forth because I would say I might like the Monstars more than the Goon Squad. But when I think of like the main villains at the very top, I'd say I like what was it, Danny DeVito who
Danny
did the
DeVito.
original
Yeah,
one.
I forgot.
Yeah, I like Danny DeVito more than I like Don Cheadle. But also like Goon Squad had a lot of good things going on for him in terms of like the cool abilities, and thought Kronos was really cool. But Kronos for me was the highlight for the Goon Squad, whereas For the Monstars overall, I just thought they had fun personality, and especially when they're little monster beings, I really love the voice acting there and their goofiness. And so I got to go 1 over 2.
Yeah, Don Cheadle. Yeah, I totally
Wow.
forgot about that. I was just going Goon Squad versus Monstars, but yeah, Danny DeVito, I think is just way more fun as a bad guy, and I don't know, man. I just feel so alone in this, thinking that Don Cheadle was like just not great and entertaining to watch.
I thought he was fine. I don't think he was great, but I also don't think he was the worst. I think he was pretty serviceable. Like I would have preferred somebody who would have brought a little bit more personality or comedy to it, but I think for Don Cheadle, for John Cheadle doing what Don Cheadle does, I thought he did fine.
I'm going to go with Danny DeVito over Don for sure, but I'm going to go with the Goon Squad over the Monstars because they actually had 5 of the biggest players on planet Earth, and they were all super dope. And it was a ton of fun to see them transform and do all their moves. And so, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Goon Squad.
I am with Mike and Tim on this one. I think the Goon Squad is better in almost every single way. And I like the fact that Don Cheadle was actually a real character as opposed to Danny DeVito. No disrespect to Danny DeVito, only in the movie for 30 seconds. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Space Jam, Ragu Bagu, Goon Squad number 1, Monstars number 2.
There you go. Now it's time to rank the Space Jam cinematic universe. Currently, number 1 is Space Jam. Mike Howard.
Ooh, I get to kick it off.
You get to kick it off.
Dang.
Space
Okay,
Jam: A New
well,
Legacy, above or below the OG?
I'm going to go with above the OG. For right now, I think that was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of heart. I think it had a great message, a family of understanding of growth from LeBron and his family and his son. And I really loved what we saw, right? We saw an expanded roster of the Looney Tunes. We saw a lot of WB properties, and it was really fun to go to all those different worlds and have them blended in for the final game. And I absolutely loved the Goon Squad, right? I really liked what we saw there. I loved how they elevated that. And yeah, I really dinged it for the soundtrack, and I will not love it because of the soundtrack. I'll always love the original for that. But I think if you put the 2 in front of me, I'd probably grab number 2 right away. And I'd say, let's turn this on because it's fun.
Andy Cortez.
For the same reasons that Tim had explaining what he thought about this movie is why I think this movie is below the first one. I think that at the end of the day, in a year from now, we won't be talking about this movie. This movie very much does not have those memorable moments. I think it's overall a better sort of formed movie in terms of having setups and payoffs. But I just don't think I don't know. It just feels like it's sort of lacking in a lot of other different ways. And I think the original Space Jam is just so iconic. And I was surprised I liked it as much as I did the last time we watched it. So yeah, this goes below the first Space Jam for me.
Blessing.
Yeah, I would have to put this one below the first Space Jam. I think there are so many things about the first Space Jam that makes it iconic in terms of the memories that we have with it, scene to scene to scene, where every single scene I could tell you what this is leading up to. You know, Tim mentions the characters burrowing underground in Michael Jordan's front yard, and that's the thing that I think about so often, along with the Basketball Jones scene that I'll always reference, and so many different parts of that movie. I feel like there's so many things about that one that gives it more of the iconic status versus this one, especially when you get into soundtrack, when you get into characters, when you get into all these different things. This one I absolutely adore, and I do think that this movie is going to stick around with me longer than you guys are talking about. I think there's so many things about it that are reminiscent of the original movie. When you're talking about the star power, when you're talking about how awesome the Looney Tunes are, when you're talking about all the references, like that stuff worked with me. But in the same breath, there are so many parts of this movie that feel like they are produced by a marketing machine that I can't ignore. Like this feels like hey, let's make Space Jam in 2021, and it abides by pretty much every single movie rule that you would expect from a mainstream popular movie in 2021. And I think that gives it less of a unique special nature to it versus Space Jam 1, which fair enough, like also a marketing machine, but I don't know, something about that one just hits different for me. Something about it makes it more stand out to me than this one. And so, you know, that also there's the fact that for me, this one goes on a little bit long. I wish it was tighter. I wish it was an hour and a half as opposed to almost 2 hours. But yeah, all that considered, I put Space Jam 1 over Space Jam 2: A New Legacy.
Yeah, for me with this one, I think that A New Legacy, the highs are higher, and the lows are higher than with the first one. But I think both of the movies suffer from we want more from what they actually ended up being. Like there are even the first one, it's like the hype moments. It's like we wanted more from a lot of the moments that weren't necessarily as hype. But at the end of the day, this movie doesn't have as much of the things I love most about Space Jam as an idea and as a concept. So it gets a little complicated to me of like ranking these, but I think that when we're talking about like a movie and something that like I actually want to watch, I think that it's easily A New Legacy. And I think that that's just because of what Blessing just said of this is developed and made like a movie, whereas Space Jam didn't necessarily feel that way. And I am pleasantly surprised by how they kind of used the whole marketing scheme. And this is just a movie that's a commercial for HBO Max and Warner Brothers and all that stuff. I thought they did a much better job than the trailer led me to believe. And I kind of wish that Space Jam 1996 or whenever it was did more of that. I think that this one treated the Looney Tunes with more respect, and treated LeBron with just as much respect as it did Michael Jordan in the first one. So I'm going with A New Legacy.
I also think that like on any given night, if somebody was like, what do you want to watch tonight? You have two options. We're hanging out. Do you want to watch the first Space Jam or Space Jam: A New Legacy? I don't know if I'll ever watch this movie ever again by choice. But if somebody, if we're happen to rewatch Space Jam, the first one, I could totally see myself being like, fuck yeah, it's got some stupid nostalgic stuff that I dig quite a bit. And for some reason, this movie just reminds me of a lot of the Lion King remakes where I watched it once and I'll never think about it again, unfortunately.
But with that, Andy, and I don't think that you're necessarily wrong there, but for me, I would rather just listen to the soundtrack any day of the week than watch either of these movies. Yeah. Like I don't think it's necessarily like I don't ever want to watch Space Jam 1 again. We did it for an review and I'm good. I don't ever want to watch this again either. So I don't know what that says, but still, it's like I do think that this movie not having the music is a major, major hindrance to what it could have been. But Nick, where are you at?
I'm firmly in the camp that I think the New Legacy is better than the first one. I don't hold the first one in any high regard. I remember watching it in theaters being like, that's interesting. And as a person who wasn't especially into sports, specifically basketball in the 90s, I was aware of Michael Jordan and his prominence, but this movie it's not special to me at all. So I'm just viewing these strictly as, the merits of their composition, their story, and whatever character arcs they're going for, and the ones they nailed. And I think this is a full movie. Whereas Space Jam, the original Space Jam, feels like it's an interesting experiment that worked. This feels like, hey, let's try to make the best movie we possibly can with the biggest basketball star on the planet right now, who is not necessarily an actor, but we're gonna do what we can. And I think they ended up pulling it off. I think kids will like this movie a lot. I think adults won't be bored when the kid wants to watch it for the 18th time. Well, they will for the 18th time, but the first couple times they'll probably be into it. And I just think I think the extra 30 minutes really works to develop those character arcs and to that B story. And I think it all comes together nicely, with the exception of the fact that Bugs just comes back from the dead for no reason. But that's a very Bugs thing to do. So I think I put this at number 1.
Let's do the ranking. Who thinks that Space Jam: A New Legacy is better than Space Jam? Raise your hand. Nick, me, and Mike do, which means the rankings for Space Jam in review so far, if there's a sequel, who knows? Number 1, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and number 2, Space Jam. That's a good point. Who would be next, Mike and Andy?
That's a great question.
Is the issue, because I would bring up, but see, he's the same age as like LeBron, really, so he'll fade out. So you look at the next generation, and you'd probably point your finger towards Zion Williamson. And the issue is Zion just doesn't have the charismatic energy like LeBron does. And so as of right now, I would say nobody. There's nobody that will replace LeBron James' shoes that we see right now for quite some time.
So do we then we pivot and then do another Back in Action type of movie?
No, I think we do another movie with LeBron and more people surrounding him in the cast. I mean, it's not that hard because we didn't really see. I guess how did we end up with Warner with the Warner 3000? Right, he kind of just gets stuffed, but he doesn't get destroyed. The servers are still there, so I think it's like the revenge of Don Cheadle and Al, the algorithm, and they have to recruit. And then we do get the ensemble cast where it is LeBron, grabbing the Bill Murrays and things like that to come back and play a basketball tournament or something like that. I don't know. That was my opinion. Because Lord knows, LeBron can't play forever. I don't know where he's at. Is he still playing? I don't know. That's
yes, he's still playing.
So how much longer does he have left in his career, do you think?
I mean, Nick,
For real?
people said that he was going to be bad like 4 years ago. And so
Mike
we
says
don't
5 more years.
I think he'll be around the league for 5 more years. He's waiting for little Bronny to make it, and they want to play together, and that would be about 5 years total to
Holy
make this
shit.
happen.
That is the
That's
coolest thing ever.
That's wild.
Yeah, Bronny is currently playing in high school at Sierra Canyon down in LA,
Is he
and he is
good?
dominant. And the rule is you have to play 1 year of college basketball, go straight to the G League. Bronny will probably play 1 year and then go immediately to the league where they will put him on LeBron James' team.
He's
and
like
they
the
will
new
make
Brett
this happen.
Favre.
Oh
Like
my God.
every year we expect him to retire.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just gonna keep going. Like,
That's
what?
really cool.
Jesus Christ, dude.
I do love the
So-
idea of an ensemble movie where it is maybe the top 5 players in the league get together, where it is
Yeah,
LeBron, get Steph, get Kevin Durant. I'm just naming players. I don't know who's in the top right
Get
now.
back
but
some
I
of the
think
older
it's
guys
them.
that don't play. Exactly. Yeah. Have some
Yeah,
fun
call
with
it
Get a
Space
couple.
Jam All Star.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
perfect.
Julian,
That'd be
honestly,
great.
when
Yeah.
Bronny is old enough, right, and all the restrictions are taken off, I mean, maybe it's Bronny and Bron, right? And they have a father-son duo for the next Space Jam. They could do that for sure.
Space Jam All Stars Battle Royale. It's 100 basketball players on an island. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comments below what you think about Space Jam and Space Jam: A New Legacy. Like I said, we're returning next week to the MCU in review, and then Pixar in review, and then DCEU in review, and it's just going to keep going and going. Guess what? We're returning to Edgar Wright in review with Last Night in Soho in just a little over a month. It's about to be a really good rest of 2021. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, podcast services, Kind of Funny in review, patreon.com/kind of funny if you want it ad free and watch live as we record it, all that good stuff. Until next time, Mike, thank you for being a part of your very first in review.
Oh, thank you.
Blessing, thank you for being a part of your very second in review. Mike, I need to ask, what Game Boy is that?
That is my original Game Boy Pocket. I have me and my brothers. I have the blue. He has the
That's
red.
the ice blue. I
Yep,
wanted that
uh-huh.
so bad, and I love you so much. Till next time, I love you guys. Bye.